Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Case by Case. Happy Saturday. How are you guys doing tonight? Good evening. Oh, I have no idea what's going on here. Okay. Sorry about that. Hey, welcome everybody in chat. I have Cherie and Streets with me tonight. Let me bring them up. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening. Hello, everyone. I'm driving right now, and I'm driving through Orange County, so the orange circle. It's a roundabout, and I don't know how to use it.
I always get screwed around on those two because I'm like, what? Which way am I supposed to really go?
With Disneyland tourists too. Oh my God, it's fucking horrible. They're just like running out in the middle of the street. They don't know how it works either. Sorry.
Okay, well, let me, hey, Shaboogies, hey, Woman Chaos, Woman Doing Chaos. Welcome. Is it R. Andrew Bell? Looks like this is your first time watching a live. Welcome from Indiana. Just Jen, Tracy Burton, Rachel D. Hi, Dr. K, Deb, Rotstar, Jerome. Hello, good evening. You are now a mod. Welcome in, everybody. I put a Q&A at the top of the chat. I pinned it up there. We're going to get to, Jerome had some pretty good questions that he posted in the chat. We'll get to those. Tonight, we're going to just pick up kind of where we left off. I think it was Thursday night where we went over Betsy Blair and Sarah Carball's testimony and their witness statements. And I've did a little bit more research on Sarah Carball's statements, and I've been able to kind of pin down where she claimed she saw BG. Conveniently, her map that she did there was a map, I guess, that she had pointed out at trial where the location was. That conveniently has not been part of the exhibits that's been released yet. It's like, I think it's exhibit 220, and we've got like 219 and 221. But so yeah, and then I know some of you wanted me to discuss the cars from the Hoosier Harvest store. So I have the ability to pull up all the exhibits. If you guys would like, we can go through those if you want me to. Hey, Rochelle. You guys hit that. Hey, Scott, Thomas Scott, Ginger Snap. There's a lot of new faces in here tonight. Welcome, everybody. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. And I think at the top of this video, the join button is now there. If you want to become a member for our member only lives that we do. The last one that we did was like a 3-hour live, and it was really a good conversation. So let me see here. Does anybody have anything that anyone in chat have any topics you want me to start off with tonight? Just kind of relaxing. It's been a rainy day, like 2 inches of rain since yesterday here. It's a mess. That's okay, Ginger Snap. You can be a lurker.
Dude, I just drove by the house that I'd raised my kids in, and it looks exactly the same. It made me so sad.
Oh my gosh. When I go by my childhood home, I always feel like it looks half the size that I remember it.
Well, it's the house that we bought when we very first had the kids, and it's a little craftsman in Orange County in a historic district. The only thing that's different is they let flowers grow around the picket fence, but it's still a cute little craftsman with a white picket fence. Just, oh my God, I can't believe that used to be my life. It just seems like eons ago.
That's kind of like how,
Sorry.
oh, no, I've gone by mine several times, and it always seems like it's super, super small.
It's just
So,
weird being back in this neighborhood like that I used to drive through with like a minivan and shit, just fucking crazy with postpartum, but it's so just suburban. It's hard to look at it. Oh, Orange County housewife up in this motherfucker. Sorry.
where did my chat go? Okay, there we go. Wow, I just gifted everybody like I just sent out 5 memberships, guys. Reese's doing well. Reese, I talked to him today a couple of times just through the messaging system. He's doing good. He's back in, like I think I said the other day, he's back in a regular unit now. He's not in segregation anymore, which is good. So skeptic curiosity. Hey, Bell Mayhem. So do you guys in chat, you want me to just go? Is that what you want me to do? Just go?
Let's do this shit. Oh.
Okay, let me see. True Crime Addicted. Hello, Free Ricky Bay. Are you saying that you live in Texas? Okay. Okay, go. Here we go. All right. So let me see. Um, so let me pull up. Let me share my screen here because, hey, Travis. Oh, are you talking about the jockeys on the? Yeah, that's a really good point. And you know what? Well, yeah, if you want to see what a man who is 5'4" compared to people of average height, tune into NBC right now. Yeah. So I'm going to pull up the Google Earth. Yep, the jockeys. So okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So I moved. So Muddy Bloody Guy. He was seen according to some of the different. I went through today and listened to some different people who were at the trial and took notes. So apparently, he was on this side of 300. Sarah Carball passed the Meers lot, heading towards the cemetery. Guy about halfway between the Meers lot and the cemetery. So that is, if this was, I'm not even going to say BG, if this was the killer, okay, there's a good chance, or someone who was involved with the killings, that means this idiot would have left the girls down here, walked up to the cemetery, more than likely, or up to the top of this, the threshold right here of the woods, cut across the cornfield, crossed the road, and just walked wide out in the open, muddy and bloody. And I've got a video that we're going to watch, and I'm going to pull that up right now. courtesy of Julie Melvin, who drives this road. And let me see if this is the right one. No, that's not it. Hang on. Nope. Okay, here it is. So what we're seeing this is 300 right here. So as you can see in this video, on the far right-hand side, that is Freedom Bridge. So we are coming up along here. This, on the right-hand side of the road, is where the old CPS building would have been. Do you see on the right-hand side there, along the next to the berm, there's like a walking path? Whoever, if someone parked at the CPS building, they would have had to have walked along that path. And I have another video too that's going to show you from the inside. Now we're passing the houses. When I say the inside, I mean from the inside of where the trails are. So we're passing the houses and we're going to be coming up on the Hoosier Harvest Store. So this is a long, skinny road. So he would have had to have walked all the way down this road. I mean, we haven't even gotten to the Hoosier Harvest Store yet, where the camera was. This isn't a car. So Sarah Carball wants us to believe that this man walked all the way down this road, and let's just pretend for a minute he went behind the Hoosier Harvest Store. Well, if he would have went behind it, like, because what, he knew there was a camera on the building, because we didn't see him pass the building. And if he would have came out from behind it and continued on this road right here on the left-hand side, he would have still been captured on the camera. So there's the Hoosier Harvest Store on the left. So now we're coming up to the Meers lot. Now, you have to remember, this appears to be summertime. Oh, thank you, Skeptic Curiosity. Here's the Meers lot right here. And that gate did not used to be there. And so Sarah said she passed this lot, and she said that she saw several people there. A girl with bright blonde hair wearing a hot pink shirt. And then remember, we went over all of the cars that would have been parked there. Tara's car, which was the black Acadia. Derek had a white Subaru, and Tara's girlfriend had a tan Nissan. And then Becky and Cody pulled in at some point. So if this is between 4 and 4:30, all of those people would have been here. But this appears to be like summertime. So, yeah, right, woman doing chaos, probably. Kelsey might have been pulling in here at the same time around this time, because remember, there was a little bit of confusion because she claimed she called in to Dairy Queen where she worked to call off, yet we've got Becky Patty claiming that she called Dairy Queen to get Kelsey on the phone. So just another oddity again. So Sarah's passing the Meers lot. And if you walk straight through, I mean, it's a very short distance. You walk right into the trail. And where you walk into the trail at right here is where the wood Monon Trail sign is. That's been turned in kind of like the memorial for Abby and Libby right there with the rocks, and people leave little small gifts. So, right, that's what you walk into right there. So you would turn left to go to the bridge. So you keep going. There's the Meers farm on the left-hand side, which was, they also had a butcher shop there. So this is where he supposedly was walking, somewhere in this area right here on the left-hand side of the road, and she passed him. Does it even seem plausible that a killer, muddy and bloody, would be out here in the wide open just walking?
That's what I was thinking too. Not very sneaky.
No. And that's how far back the tree line is. I mean, he could have walked along that tree line. He could have stayed hidden over in there, but eventually he would have had to have either popped out on the trail or he would have ran right into the people at the Meers lot. Yeah, a lot of people don't believe that Sarah saw anything. And yes, she did. She said the muddy and bloody. In her very first interview, she said, hold on, I wrote it down. Her first interview, 11 times, never said the word blood. Oh, yeah, Christy, exactly. The group at Meers would have seen him too. And then her second interview, she said muddy 13 times, never said blood. And then 2 years later, in her third interview, she only said he was bloody. So what if the person let's just pretend for a minute she did see someone. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt.
It turned bloody after that reward money went real high. That's when it turned bloody. If you look at the date.
Mm-hmm. So what if he was somebody who worked at the Meers farm or at the butcher shop? Because if he's walking,
has anybody ever looked closely into Benjamin Meers, or did his name and the house that he lived in keep him protected from all this? Do you remember the story of? I know that we, don't talk, but Noe went out onto the bridge with an ISP officer. Do you remember the story that he told about the Meers woman, and all the naked pictures in the butcher shop and just how weird they were? The person who was moving out was Benjamin Meers. He fucking hightailed it out of there as soon as that stuff went down. And look at Benjamin Meers and look at the first sketch. Not the young guy, but the old guy. Look at Benjamin Meers and look at that sketch.
I'll have to pull him up again. I know I've looked at him.
And put a cap on that dude and put a painter's cap on Benjamin Meers, and he's a bridge guy as far as the sketch goes. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying maybe that whole story really weirded me out.
Well, the girls that there were 3 other girls that were out there. I've considered contacting them. Hi, all eyes. But there were 3 other girls that were out there in the earlier time frame. So if you believe Richard Allen told Dan Doolin that he was out there and was gone by 1:30, then it's plausible that he said he saw 3 girls, not 4. And Bree Wilbur and them that are not Bree Wilbur, but Riley Voorhees, and then there was 4 of them, not 3. And the other thing is too, there was a man that those girls described right there on the bridge, or not on the bridge, but on the trail I believe around that 126 time frame where they took that picture, who was walking his dog. Did he not see Bridge Guy? Did he not see this person that the girls claimed that they saw?
How did Cheyenne not see Bridge Guy? Like, how did Flannel Shirt Guy not see Bridge Guy? How
Yes.
did the LaFond kid not see Bridge Guy? How does LaFond dad not see Bridge Guy? Like, there's a whole bunch of them that didn't see Bridge Guy. And then the ones that did supposedly see Bridge Guy said he was all dressed in black and creepy looking. And none of them mentioned a fucking hobbit either.
Judge Jessica, I think he might have saw them when he was getting there, if we're to believe that, because I really don't trust any of these law enforcement officers who investigated this case. Like I said, Dan Doolin, yeah, he admits to being at the bridge. So does a whole bunch of other people out there, Anthony.
Deputy Dewey.
There's a whole bunch of people that were out there at the bridge. So we're going to continue on this video. So look, I mean, look at this distance that this individual would have had to have walked. And here's the cemetery. So I mean, that's a huge length of people, or I mean, of distance to travel after you just committed a double homicide.
If you look at the way he's dressed, the person is obvious, like, and all the stuff that you're led to believe that he went in with a full kill kit, but parked on the opposite side of where he planned on killing someone.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. In the middle of an afternoon on a Monday, walks in with a kill kit, but parks on the other side of the trail. So he has to walk back muddy and bloody for everyone to see.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make
So,
any sense.
let me see. Yeah, Jerome, I do have that photo. I'm going to pull up Jerome's questions. Again, thank you, Skeptic Curiosity, for gifting 5 memberships. Let me see. Jerome had 3 questions, plus I took one and put at the top of the chat, which was how, number 1, here, I'll just pop them up on the screen. What is the proof that BG is the killer? Do we want to tackle that question first? What's the proof? I personally believe that whoever BG was, he was a part of this. So Andrew says, is it Andrew? Is it Andrew, or is it R. Andrew Bell, or what is your first name? I just popped your question up for everyone to read it. It says Rick Allen may not be healthy enough at the time to walk the 300 North Road anyway. At the time he was on the trails. Yeah, Anthony, he should have. If their names were in discovery. So now I'm going to show you. Let me pull that down. So now I'm going to show you where I think Osbrook's in the chat. I haven't heard anything else about it. We did discuss the black car. So we know it was on the private drive at 2:08, right here, across from the Sandiford property, right here. It goes on the private drive, goes off camera for about a minute, and then a minute later, it's seen coming back out. So it would have had to have traveled all the way up to the bridge, or at least under the bridge, turned around and came back. So that means, is there time for someone to have been dropped off? Absolutely.
Hey, I got a 3-hour
If you
road
believe,
trip ahead. I got a 3-hour road trip ahead of me. I gotta go pee, so I'm going inside this gas station really quick. I'll be back.
okay.
Sorry.
So that's all that I know. Osbrook said that it's on there, and I don't know if there's any other traffic seen on that camera that day either, because that road really only would be utilized for the private drive. Okay, so are you talking about, so I'm talking about the black sedan that Osbrook saw passing. Osbrook was on, he was reviewing the camera footage from Sandiford's, the same camera that saw the white van at 2:44. Now, the Subaru that I believe Hella described is what she believes the car passing the Hoosier Harvest store saw on that camera. So Rick didn't drive a Subaru, he drove a Ford Focus. So I'm going to, now this video is actually super great. Okay, so this is right before you go over Freedom Bridge, okay? This right here is where we believe Rick was describing that he parked. So Rick said that he did cross Freedom Bridge. So if you're approaching the trail, this right here is the bridge that he would have drove underneath. Yeah, if you're gonna guys, keep it nice in the chat. We don't do that here. So let me back that up. So this right here, that bridge would have been the bridge that he drove under to get to that parking lot. Remember, he said that he drove under a small bridge. So if Rick parked at that parking lot, he would have had to have crossed Freedom Bridge, just like this person is. No, he described going when you first of all, he in his interrogation video, he described several times where he thought he parked. And he describes going under the bridge. There is no bridge to go under if you're completely on the other side of the freeway at the CPS building. And if he would have parked at the old CPS lot or CPS building, he would not have crossed Freedom Bridge. Yeah, and I think by this point in time, what, 7 years later, the area out there had changed so much. So again, if he knew all of these back roads and he knew the back way to get to the old CPS building, why, and he, he's packed up, overloaded with clothing, he's got a gun on him, he's got a knife on him. Why would he park this far away? If this was just going, because you can't say it wasn't premeditated, whoever was out there. We're supposed to believe that somebody had a gun, which we don't hear in the video. She does not say that be a gun, period. But law enforcement was able to get on the witness stand and tell the jury that's what the video said. That be a gun. So of course the jury believed that whoever BG was had a gun on him for sure, which we don't even know that now. And he had a knife or a box cutter or both or multiple blades. So whoever went out there with this intent went out there packed and loaded and ready to go. Why would he park the furthest distance away from where he intended to go? Makes no sense. So well, if you notice in the Ron Logan search warrant, they never even spoke of a gun or a bullet being found at the scene. Why, when the FBI served the search warrant at Ron Logan's house, is there nothing to indicate that they are looking for a weapon that could match an unspent bullet that was found at the crime scene? Judge Jessica, are you saying that BG had 3 jet skis out there? No, they did take all of his guns, but they did not mention anything about a bullet seeking a weapon that was used in the crime. They took, and see, and that's another thing that's interesting about Ron Logan, because I would like to know how the law dictates, and maybe Osbrook can answer, or Travis, who's in the chat, how. So there was 2 search warrants served at Logan's property. The first one was about the weapons. They were there to confiscate the weapons for the probation violation. Remember? Because Ron told the officer who was driving him home that he didn't want them to search his property because he was on probation and he had weapons in the house. That officer then went back to the station and let them know what he had said. So they got the search warrant for the probation violation. So those weapons were confiscated during that search warrant, irrelevant of the second search warrant that was served by the FBI for this case. So was that done intentionally? I mean, does the items recovered in that initial search warrant? So here we go. I'm going to stop myself mid-sentence. So if BG or RA parked at the old CPS building, what you're about to see is, and remember too, somebody, all eyes, I know that you know, what was the time stamp? Because I know that the camera time was off on the Hoosier Harvest Store video. What was the time stamp that they claimed Rick's car was seen on the Hoosier Harvest video? Hey, Indy Cindy, how are you? 127. Okay. Now, think of this. The four girls on the trails took a Snapchat photo on the bench at 126. So if Rick's car is seen on the Hoosier Harvest Store camera, I'll go back and pull up that other video. We can look at this time that it would have taken him to park, get out of his car. Now, this video is going towards that trail, towards where BG would have came in from where he parked at the CPS building, if that's where he parked. So look at this path. So he would have had to have walked this path. He would have been coming towards us. So remember, the girls are taking a Snapchat photo at 226, or I'm sorry, 126 on the bench, right before you exit the trails. And they claim that they saw Bridge Guy right there at Freedom Bridge. So was he coming across Freedom Bridge, or was he coming from this path right here? And how did he come from this path? He would have had to walk all the way up from the road, and to the left, down around the curve is where the old CPS building was, which would have been right in here. Why is my video freezing? I don't know who they sent the screenshot to at 2:05, but the timestamp on that Snapchat in the exhibits is 126. And remember, they said that there was the greenhouse in the background with the green roof. So this is where, see this side, this little gravel walkway over here on the right-hand side. This is how far he would have had to have walked along the road. And he would have cut through these trees right here out to that path that we were just looking at. So could he have gotten from the CPS building down the road, turned right onto this path, and walked all the way around? And past the, I just don't think there's enough time. If his car was seen on the Hoosier Harvest video camera at 126. So we are going to fast forward just a little bit. Yeah, I don't think there's enough time. And if we, when we look at the, so do you see the bench? I have it marked on here. The bench was literally right here. The red balloon. 26 pick. You can see the house behind with the green roof. That they know that's the bench they took the picture on. So they only had this short distance right here to walk to get out here to Freedom Bridge. So I don't think there was enough time. Oh, wait a minute. Did I not share my screen? Sorry, guys. Cherie, can you see my screen?
Yes, I've been able to see it.
I'm back and I can see your screen.
So thank you, guys.
Even though technically I'm not supposed to be able to because I'm driving. But I can. Sorry.
This, yes, Shaboogies, we do. That car, and well, we need to see all these exhibits too. And don't forget that I'm still waiting on, because I ordered all of the exhibits. I'm still waiting on those, but I need the DNA analysis sheets and reports that were turned in at trial for Dr. Silkman. So he can tell us what kind of testing they did for sure, and what possibilities are still available that can be done. Michael Osbrook, Kate, is MA. Yeah, there's exactly. That's another. Yeah, you just. I mean, and that goes into this whole scenario of, walking along the road out in the open, muddy and bloody, all the way down. I mean, literally all the way down from the furthest point he had been. He walked all the way back out on the middle of the road, or on the side of the road in front of everybody, and he's not seen on video. People at Meers don't see him. He pre-planned this because he had weapons on him, and silently took the girls off the bridge, killed them quietly. No one heard a thing, and he left no DNA. But he walked in broad daylight out in the open. It does not make sense. I don't think that bridge guy, I don't think the guy that we see on Abby and Libby's video I don't think that's a female. But oh, you know what though? I do want to ask you guys something. Do any of you believe that in the still photo of Bridge Guy, or in Abby and Libby's video, do you believe that Bridge Guy's jeans on the left leg knee is ripped?
That has come up before. I've heard someone talking about that. But I don't know. I'm so nervous about saying that I see anything anymore after giant bunnies.
I mean, I don't. Here's what I don't understand, because again, Sarah Carbaugh's testimony that she passed the Meers lot 3 to 4 times that day, and there were always cars there. Why did we only hear from the 4 girls, or the 3 girls of the 4, and Betsy Blair, who were on the trails? Why did we not hear from Pearson? Why did we not hear from either of the Shelbys? I'm sorry, we did hear from Cheyenne. That's been speculated a lot about, do we see anybody behind Abby on that 207 photograph? And I mean, I just don't know. Yeah, sketch is a photograph. Okay, so I'm going to pull this video back up because and the other thing that I wanted to show you guys. I'm just going to let it play. And for those, I mean, if you guys have never been out here, I don't think that people realize how the first half of the trail that you're walking, there's houses that back up to it. And so you can see on this trail the distance between the houses and the trail. So no matter where no matter if the killer or killers came back this way towards the trailhead, he would have been seen. Like, there's nowhere to walk right there on the left-hand side between the trail and the backyards of the houses. And as you get further up the trail, when there's no houses, everything over on the other side of the trail on the left is flat cornfield. Yeah, I don't believe Doolin at all. Doolin would have been I mean, first of all, the name on his tip, or his report that he put into the computer, was wrong. He had Rick Whiteman.
There was
So
nothing about that report that was right, but we're supposed to believe that the only thing on it that was right was the timeline. The only thing right on that entire report that he destroyed, by the way, is the time.
Well, see, I don't think that Betsy Blair is lying either, and I think it's very possible that she did. I don't believe that a grown woman would look at a person even 50 feet, 50 yards away, and categorize them as a young guy if he's almost 50. There's just, I just don't believe that. I don't believe that happened. And everything else about this case would have to be a coincidence. The drop box that Keegan Kline had, him communicating with with Libby. You've got in his transcripts, hey catastrophe, hey trial junkie. If you believe his interrogation transcripts, then he was communicating with her that morning. And multiple people were under the same roof logging in to that account and out of that account. And whatever proof they had, they were showing it to Keegan, because they're showing him on a sheet of paper. They're showing him, see here, right here, log in, log out, log in, log out, different devices attached to the Wi-Fi in the house. So that's a coincidence. So put a 1 in the chat if you think the girls thought they were going out there to meet Anthony Schatz.
They 100% thought that they were going out there to meet Anthony Schatz. I think some other girls that day thought that they were going out there to meet Anthony Schatz. Like Bree Wilbur. I want to know about that slumber party. Something went down at that slumber party that spooked whoever Anthony Schatz really is. And for some reason, it's something that Libby did that spooked him.
Well, and there's that. And I also want to know what it was that Libby had planned on telling her mom. Because one of the interviews that Carrie did, she claimed that she had talked to Libby that morning on the way to work, and they were Snapchatting each other, and that Libby had told her that she had something to tell her. So what was that? And then, well, Betsy Blair claimed that she saw Abby and Libby. Betsy Blair claimed that she passed them right in between the Meers lot and the bridge, like the halfway mark. And I do have I don't know if I can pull I have to check and see if I can show it on here, make sure someone's name's not available on it. But there's a person who's contacted me that said that she's communicated with Keegan, and that Keegan told her that right after the murders, his dad paid him $25,000. Yes, I agree. I think that I think the guys and down the hill could very well be two different people. So right here, this video, we're coming up on, this is the entrance from the Meers lot. And you know, Doug Carter had made some statements about the, now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember one of his press conferences or one of his interviews, he discusses the fact that who we see on the bridge and who we hear talking on the video may not be the same person. But I mean, what are the, and I don't know what proof they have about the fact that this Vegas trip was planned. But if a Vegas trip was planned, couldn't there have been a murder planned as well for a video to be made or photographs to be taken and taken to, you know, you don't want to put them on a actual device with a hard drive, so you wouldn't send them by email or upload them on a device. You could travel. Do
There's
what?
a police chase going by me right now. There's a police chase going by me right now on the 5 freeway. Oh my God! Oh my God! Look,
You better pull over.
I am all the way in the slow lane, and they're going by me really fast over in the fast lane in the carpool lane. But I just saw the guy go by so fast, and he was like weaving out of anybody. And then I looked in my rearview mirror, and there was just like a fucking there's a effing flood of blue and red lights behind me, and I was like, holy crap! But yeah, they're gone now.
I do. Let me see. Who said that? No, Christy Sharp. I do believe Betsy said that she saw Abby and Libby and she recognized them on the news as being the girls that she passed. So this right here is where you come in from. And so while we're here, I'm going to do this. Hang on one second, guys. I'm going to pull up. I'm going to pull up this video from when me and Cherie were out there. So the Vegas trip story is supposedly Keegan and his dad left. I think it was within 3 days after the murders to go to Vegas. And the bizarre thing about that whole entire ordeal to me was the fact that they drove there, which is a very long drive, only to stay, I think, for 2 to 3 days and then turn right back around to drive all the way back. And the trip was supposed to be planned. But the whole entire time that Keegan was in Vegas, he was searching the Delphi case. He was searching how long does DNA last. He was pulling up Sandy Hook. He did searches for the Sandy Hook victims. And I'm saying, what if they drove a device out to Vegas to sell it for what they had on it? And where would Tony Klein get $25,000? And why would he have given it to Keegan? And in the course of this investigation going forward, hopefully somebody's bank records can be obtained. Yeah, there was a phone that he found in Vegas in a taxi, and he miraculously it didn't have a passcode. He wiped it and then uploaded his own personal stuff on there. And I believe he call it shots photography or something. He made it like a photography phone. Hey, Jackie Johnson. Hey, guys, if you all are just coming in, take a quick minute to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It's free. I'm going to pull up this video from when Cherie and I were out there. It's right there at the, let me see. Oh, it's not going to let me play it. What the hell? Okay. Let me see if it lets me download it. Yeah. Well, I've discussed it on here before about his Dropbox, that, he could sell links to that Dropbox and price them based on the title of the Dropbox, what he had in each file, or he could have sold access to the entirety of the Dropbox. That is reportedly what Keegan told Reese Davis, was that he would meet up with Ron every few months because Ron would get a new burner phone, because they all were utilizing burner phones to view the contents of this Dropbox, and that Ron needed help getting the Dropbox downloaded and working on each new burner phone that he got. Exactly, Bezo Jones. Those type of films absolutely can be sold for lots of money. Let me see if I can pull this in here. And that's one thing that law enforcement said this whole entire time, that the crime scene would look like something that you would want to take a picture of.
I've always heard the rumor that there was tripod marks. I don't know in what capacity or what that means, but I've heard people mention that in the beginning there was talk of like tripod marks in the mud or something. That's supposition on my part.
Yeah, you're talking about Dirk Hayes, TK's friend. Am I right, Skeptic Curiosity? Dirk Hayes also moved to Vegas, and he owns a photography company out there.
He told his mom that he was moving to Colorado and then moved to Vegas on a trip that was already planned. Have you guys, I don't know if you've ever heard it, but on Crime and Shame, there is an interview with Dirk. Have you heard?
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
It's a Crime and Shame. Aspen did a interview with Dirk Hayes' mom like a while ago.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yes. Yeah, and he told her he was moving to Colorado, right?
Yeah, he told her he was moving to Colorado, but he had planned on moving to Vegas the whole time. I don't know what kind of relationship they had or why he would lie to her, but that's a pretty big lie, especially when there was kids involved.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you have to ask yourself too, who all had who was in that Dropbox, and just because Keegan gave certain people access to it, once you have access to a link of a Dropbox, you yourself can share that link with anybody. So
if you go to Dirk Hayes' Facebook, it has a very Anthony Garino feel to it. If you watch his videos,
I haven't been on his Facebook for a while. And Jerome, no, I don't believe that. I'm not saying that the killers have to be all men. If this was something to do with, because there are women, sex traffickers, there are women who is involved with CSAM as well. And we do have all of this unidentified female hair. It's very possible. And the one thing that I think a lot of people forget about that sweatshirt that Libby had on, supposedly that was a brand new sweatshirt that had not been worn. So you can assume, that maybe Kelsey's hair got on Abby's finger because she put on that sweatshirt. But if that sweatshirt wasn't worn, and think about, just imagine putting a piece of hair on your finger. That's going to be something that, from the time that she gets out of the car, she already has her jacket on. She has that jacket on in the car, which Kelsey claimed she gave her when they got out of the car. So she's walking from the car all the way from the Meers lot to the bridge, onto the bridge, across the bridge, down the hill, down another hill, across the creek. And somewhere in there, she ends up with Libby's sweatshirt on. How did that hair stay on her finger all that time?
I've always wondered that too. Like, if she put on the sweatshirt at the car, like Kelsey said, that hair stayed wrapped around her finger through a hike, through a struggle, through crossing a bridge, all of that. Unless it was Libby's hair, because Libby had been wearing that sweatshirt. That's the only thing that I can think of, is that it got in her fingers. And it wasn't Kelsey's hair. Maybe it was Libby's hair from whoever redressed her, or if she redressed herself. I don't know. But Libby was wearing that sweatshirt. So it'd be interesting if they would have actually tested those damn hairs. It makes absolutely no sense to me that they didn't test those hairs. It's just absolutely asinine.
So this video right here, since in the other clip we're right here at the Meers lot, this is from inside the gate, looking across 300 at the Meers farm. And the the Hoosier Harvest Store is all the way down there, where my camera is, all the way down that road.
That is really pretty.
It's very pretty out there. The harvest store's down there. I thought this was the longer video that I pulled in, but it's not. So we'll go back to this one. So this is right here at the Meers lot. Right across from the Meers lot, you see the bench. This was the bench that Rick Allen claimed that he sat on after walking off the bridge. This is all of the memorabilia where they leave things for the girls right here at this little memorial site. Yeah, Rachel, Tara had 2 vehicles out there. She had a black Acadia, and she had her girlfriend had a tan Nissan, and Derek had a white Subaru. And then I don't know what Becky and Cody were driving.
I have a question. How does a convicted felon with no driver's license, fresh out of the clinker, get a new Subaru car? I'm just wondering.
Good question.
Just, no license, fresh out of the can, felon, just rolling up in a brand new Subaru. That's that.
So this is what I wanted to point out right there. So when you look to the left of the trail, hold on, I'm trying to make this bigger for you guys to see it. I've got really bad weather here right now. So it's to the left, right there, right there. So do you see how open this is? It's pretty much very shallow, wooded wise, along the left side of the trail. So, and then you're looking out over the cornfield before you come up on the cemetery. So this right here, somewhere within this period of the trail is where Betsy claims she passed the 2 girls that she said she believed to be Abby and Libby after she's seen them on the news. I don't know. I don't believe, I didn't hear them offer him a lie detector test in his interrogation. But what I did, so guys, now just remember, Betsy Blair.
I've heard that that's the redacted part, that it's within your wife's rights to reject a polygraph, and so they couldn't show the jury. Did they show the jury that they couldn't, for some reason, show that he didn't want to take a polygraph because it can't be held against him? So it's not evidence against him. So that's,
well, they're not admissible, and they're not admissible in court anyway.
Yeah.
So that might have been one of the reasons they.
Yeah, but I've heard that that's the parts like where it's blacked out in the interrogations. Like that's where they're asking him if he wants to take a polygraph, and him refusing to take a polygraph can't be held against him. So that's why it's not evidence. I don't know if that's right or not, but I've heard.
I believe that's why.
On the YouTube streets, that's what they be saying.
Yep. So, okay, now we're coming up to the bridge. Now, this video was shot before the remodeling of the first part of the trestles on the bridge. So there's a couple of things that we're going to look at here. First of all, as you can see, if you're approaching the bridge, do you see how the gravel goes off to the left? That is an area that you can turn left on, and you can walk up into the woods and all the way around that higher ridge, all the way out to the cemetery and Ron Logan's property. So when we think of Betsy Blair walking up to this end of the bridge, we're gonna see the first platform. We're gonna see where bridge guy would have been standing, how far away it would have been for her to determine whether or not he was a young guy or an old guy. I have hypothesis. You're saying are you saying the left, this left-hand turn right here into this wooded area is the route that Libby's phone took? Hey, Electric Weird Cat. So you see, right there. Yeah, but I think the walking path. Yeah, I can pull that up, Jerome. Well, but that where the gravel is, still back then it was a dirt path, but this up in here would have been a great place for someone to be hiding. And my point with all of that is when you leave the Meers gate, it took us 8 minutes to get right here to the edge of the bridge. So if Betsy Blair saw the girls the midway mark, where did young bridge guy go? Right there. He would have been standing right there. Now, I don't believe a grown woman would make the mistake of saying that she saw a young boy or a young 20-some-year-old versus a 50-year-old man. Do you guys think that's too far away for her to have made to get a clear visual of the man standing on that platform? No, he never said that he saw anyone but the three girls. And I do believe that Betsy Blair said that she made eye contact with this person.
Has anybody in law enforcement gone to Betsy Blair since Richard Allen was arrested and said, "Is this the dude?" Or no, probably
Well,
not.
why didn't the state have any of their witnesses point Rick out in the courtroom and say, yes, that's the man I saw? Not one.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
I don't know if the three girls that were there earlier in the day, I have no information as to whether they were ever even contacted. But they do speak publicly on their Facebook pages about being out there that day. Exactly, DB. Not one. Exactly, not one. And, as adamant as Sarah Carball claims she was about what she saw, I would have thought that, she would have been, she's seen him close up, like from her driver's side window to him being on the left side of the road. I mean, she was within 2 to 3 feet of him. Yeah, exactly, Jim.
I would also
Great
like
point.
out that, so I don't know if she's talking on during her testimony, didn't she point out where she saw the muddy and bloody? And wasn't it also, she said she saw it on the dark blue jacket?
No, she
Right?
said that she said he had on a tan, I wrote it down. She said he had on a tan sweater, but it had a hoodie. It had a hoodie attached to it, like it wasn't a sweatshirt. She said it was like a tan sweater, and he had on a hat with a bill. So like
that's where my point also. I was just going to say on a Navy, I wear navy blue uniform and I deal with blood, not anymore so much, but I dealt with blood in a dark blue Navy uniform on a daily basis, and there's no way you're going to see muddy and bloody on a dark blue jacket. I wear dark blue all the time, and I've been covered in blood, and I myself have not known. So,
well, we know that photograph of the blue Carhartt jacket that was put in as an exhibit. We know that's not the same jacket because Bridge Guy doesn't have a Carhartt logo on the front of his jacket. And it's my understanding that that blue Carhartt jacket wasn't purchased until a year or so after the murders.
And there's no way you commit 2 murders where you're slashing people's throats and you're wearing that jacket and you don't get any blood, DNA, or anything on it. That's not physically possible. I don't care who you are. Like, you can be Dexter, like straight A-class, world-class, whatever the hell you want to call it, a serial killer, and there's no way you're pulling that off.
Well, you know what, with the way that she describes this man, and that she said that the majority of the blood that she saw on him, she said he was covered in mud, like he had fallen, and that the majority, she's seen a lot of the blood down around, like his knees and below, around his feet. So imagine the DNA that would have been on the carpet in his car.
Yeah, there's no way that that he did all of that silently and with no DNA. That's the one thing I cannot wrap my head around, is that two girls, he did this to them silently and with no transfer of DNA whatsoever, except for what Dr. Silkman talked about. That just seems like a scientific anomaly, if that it could even happen that way. And slashing of a throat, and Libby being constantly slashed, not just one slash, like there's going to be so much blood involved in that. And taking off someone's clothes, redressing Abby, there's hair in Abby's fingers, but there's no DNA. Like how is that possible?
Well, an interesting thing that the other night when I was on when me and Sergio had our meeting, and we were talking about the crime scene and Libby's injuries versus Abby's, and he said distinctively that crime scene he felt was for show. That Libby's injuries would have been because they were vertical, they were up and down, and she had one on each side of her neck, one in the middle, and then there was one or two other ones that overlapped the original cuts, which is something that Keegan also told Reese Davis, was that they thought that Libby's chest was still moving, like she was still breathing, when they were going to put her in the wheelbarrow to take her back down to the or take her out to the crime scene. And they cut her again over top where they had already cut her. Now that is a detail that only a killer would know.
Yeah, and he should not have had. No one knew that until the trial, and he didn't hear that. He didn't get to listen to Andrea Burkhardt's play-by-play after the trial every night on YouTube. There's no way he should have known that.
No, exactly. He doesn't have access to YouTube. And those kinds of details weren't discussed on the news. Oh, Shaboogies. Oh.
What?
Okay.
I can't see anything. Tell me.
I think Shaboogie is saying that she spoke to one of the three girls.
Oh, Shaboogies has got some.
Shaboogies. Are you saying that you spoke to one of the three girls that were out there earlier? Yeah, I think he's covered this case, Jerome. Hey, under your scars.
I am sitting in dead stop traffic in downtown LA right now. And I want to
Okay, well, you know what? Hold on a second. Let me see here. I'm going to pull up this photo for Jerome. Boop, 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 boop. Hold on a sec. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, I'll have to pull that up in a little. There it is. Sorry, everything I'm doing right now is running slow. I think it's just because it's raining so hard outside. So you guys never, so in chat, answer, put a 1 in the chat if you think that standing here at the edge of the bridge to the first platform is too far for someone to give a description of an individual standing on the platform.
I feel like if you made eye contact with a person, you'd be able to give a better description. You know what I mean? Than if you're just sweeping the scenery. But if she made eye contact with him, she probably saw more than you would think she saw.
So did Shabugi say that she talked to one of them? Is that what I'm getting from the chat?
I am one of Shabugi's followers on X. I can send her a DM and give her your email or something. I don't know.
Well, if she spoke, okay. Do you want to come up?
Yeah, she's been up before.
Yeah. Shabugi, do you want to come up and talk about it? And tell us what you did, if you found out anything, any good information?
Marcelo housewife watcher.
Yeah. Shabugi, I'm gonna drop the link in the chat real quick, okay? Yeah, I don't think that platform is too far for someone to see someone standing on there and be able to give a decent description. At least, I mean, she said clean shaven, young boy, between 20 and 30, but good looking, poofy brown hair.
I mean, I'm not saying she was, but I've always kind of wondered if she was describing Anthony Schott. I don't know. I know he doesn't exist, but it's just weird that she described who the girls were who they thought they were meeting.
Hey guys.
Hey, Shabugi. Hey, how are ya?
So good. Loving the weekend. So Judgy gave me, because one day I randomly was bitching on Twitter, as I normally do, and I was like talking about the 3 girls, like we need to identify these 3 girls, like that's the key to proving his timeline. Judgy started DMing me, and she knew the names of the 3 girls, right? These 3 basketball girls. We didn't know it was them 3, but we were assuming. So she gave me the names, and I was like, I bet I could just pull up their fucking Facebook, find these people, and message them. So I messaged all 3 of them, and I posed it in a way where I was just trying to ask if they had seen anyone earlier that day. And only one girl responded. And at first she was really put off. She was wanting to know who I was and what was, all that stuff. And I ended up talking to her a little more and explaining to her, hey, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to be a weirdo or anything. We think this guy might be innocent. We're trying to find information out. And I told her that he identified seeing 3 girls and that we thought them 3. And from that point, she did not remember seeing anyone, unfortunately. So that was the big bad news. But she did identify that they went the route where they would have crossed that bridge with the blue that's now red. And she identified herself as being 2 to 3. She was about 2 years older than the other 2 girls she was with. And she had long dark hair and she was taller than them. So that signified to me that that was the 3 girls we were for sure looking for, because Rick Allen had mentioned that one of them looked older. And that was all I was pretty much able to get from her, was just identifying that marker that Rick also identified, and the fact that I believe it to be them because she's older and taller. But the last thing I was going to say is I asked them if they had been spoken to by anyone, Delphi, law enforcement, private investigators, anyone. She said the only people she had ever been questioned by was some weirdo trying to get money from her and some random chick who asked if she knew them. And that was it.
So no law enforcement.
Zero, not even Delphi bothered to interview these girls.
I bet you their names were not even in discovery.
Maybe not.
Trial Junkie wants to know if you got their timeline.
I did not get a full timeline from her. She was kind of like pushing me off towards the end. You know, like I could tell she was getting like tired of answering questions about this. She said they weren't even friends with Abby and Libby, but she would see Abby and Libby all the time because she went to the high school, and she would see them in the tunnel that like merges the middle school to the high school. But all it would take is somebody with a higher pay grade than my ass to sit them down, question them, and I don't know, have them testify to actually being there at the time and matching his fucking description.
I mean, so describe again okay. So when they were leaving the trails, you said that they went over across Freedom Bridge and across the Red Bridge, well, the bridge that's now red.
I gave her a picture of the map of what me and Jess believe was the route he took, and then kind of described parts of it, like, oh, there was that bridge with a little blue in it, and that's when she said, oh yeah, I remember that bridge. And that was pretty much like the most descriptive thing I got from their route. Okay. But they were the girls that were going to play basketball.
Right.
Yeah. And then Jess told me one of them is actually in jail.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what state?
Seems to be an epidemic in that area.
Jess, if you're still here, do you recall what state or place? City Park?
Hey, mods, keep an eye out for someone posting negative things about Rick in the chat. If you see it, delete it and kick them out.
Amy getting spicy.
Well, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, they don't really have anywhere to go right now. The other side, just kind of like this vacuum of just like nothingness.
And I think the other side, you know, the guilters that think he's guilty, have kind of, you know, it only makes sense that they have stopped talking if they truly believe that Rick did it because he was convicted. Their coverage of this case would be over. For us, it still goes on because I don't believe that we got the answers. And Jerome, you're talking about the Flora 4, the fires. Hey, hush. Now, I don't know. There's a couple of connections to this case. One being Patrick Westfall, who lived right down the street from the Flora house.
I think the Odin report solves for me the Flora fires, honestly.
And I believe that Becky Patty's she was an appraiser, and I believe that she did an appraisal for that house, didn't she, for insurance purposes prior to the fire? Is that what it was?
Like it was in September, and the fire was in November. Yeah, Becky, and she met and she saw I don't know if she saw the girls, but I've heard rumors, I don't know if it's true or not, that Libby was with her on that appraisal.
I want to
But
say
I
one
don't-
thing real quick. Sorry, Lacey or someone said they didn't see Rick. I just want to clarify. She could not remember seeing anyone. She didn't say like, "Oh, I for sure didn't see that guy." She just couldn't remember. It'd been too long.
Right. Anthony France said, why are we kicking people out? We are not kicking people out. I am kicking people out because it's my channel and there's no, I don't do the negativity, period, in the chat. People don't come here for that. They can get that. There's plenty of places they can get that. They're not going to get it from here. And there's no, if somebody in this chat or watching this video thinks that Rick Allen is guilty, then, start a conversation and we can discuss it like adults, but don't be childish and post negative, RIP Rick Allen in the chat over and over again, just to be a troll. That's why.
because it's rude. That's why.
Yeah, it's uncalled for. It doesn't need to be going on.
This ain't a democracy. This is a bureaucracy.
Yeah, I don't believe the cops were looking for the truth. It's very much like the Stephen Avery case. And just, and if you're not familiar with the Stephen Avery case, I suggest you invest some time in learning about that case and the corruption that went on in that case. And to be honest, I have for years, I followed that case, followed Foul Play, Dr. Silkman and Jack, everybody's coverage of that case. And I thought that we would never see a case like that again. But this one right here, this one takes the cake. This case right here takes the case.
So I wanted to talk about something because me and Jess were just debating this, and you had just been talking about it. That car that Michael saw, what I believe is that car went down the private drive, either dropped someone off or decided they wanted to go a different way, but I believe dropped someone off, turned around, went back to the CPS parking lot, parked there, and possibly waited or even got out to go head towards the direction where someone already was, where the person they dropped off already was with the girls. Because if someone got dropped off around 2:07, what time did Betsy Blair see the young guy?
I'd have to pull up her Fitbit. Let me see.
Hi, Veronica. Because that time is so coincidental. So coincidental.
Stop it. You guys hear my little Yorkie growling at me? She wants up on my lap. she's talking crap.
Oh, it was before. So yeah, Jess was mentioning that she thought the young guy could possibly be Daniel Pearson and not BG, and not the one who did it.
Well, and you know what? Daniel Pearson looks an awful lot like the young bridge guy sketch. And so does Garrett Kurtz. And the down the hill sounds like Garrett Kurtz to me. I've listened to his voice a lot just from listening to his interrogation and all of his open secret interviews. And I mean, it's very similar. Let me see here. See if I can pull up these exhibits. My computer is not letting me do anything right now, guys, just simply because I think of the weather. I can't pull nothing up. Give me a minute. Maybe I can close out some of these things. Well, I think that's the one thing about this younger person, because if Brad Holder was involved, I believe it's very possible his son was involved.
And
Or
that's what I think.
There's
And
a cop now.
oh,
Hear
what?
that? Levi Holder is a Logansport police officer.
Is that his
It-
brother? Is that Logan's brother?
Yep.
yes,
Levi Holder. He used to be a mortician, and he is got sworn in as a Logansport police officer.
From mortician?
Yep. From mortician to police officer. He was just sworn in. It was on their Facebook page.
I agree though with the Brad Holder, Logan Holder thing. And if Libby was there to meet somebody, she would feel more comfortable if she told Abby, hey, bring Logan along. It could be like a double date, and that way I'll feel more comfortable.
yeah. I mean, there's just the younger person to me. There's the two possibilities would be Logan Holder, or if Ron Logan was involved, Garrett Kurtz. And I mean, and yes, there is the sound of some sort of an engine in the background of the BG video. I don't believe that it would be coming from all the way across the creek, across the cornfield from 300. It's either coming from the private drive, or it sounds to me like a car. I wouldn't say that it sounds really like a four-wheeler, but yes, Garrett Kurtz did say he used to ride four-wheelers back there all of the time.
That makes more sense, because I was also just thinking, like, if there was a car right at that time down there, we would have seen it exiting. So a four-wheeler makes sense.
Yeah, a four-wheeler or somebody getting dropped off, which is, it's just undeniable that all of these things were told by Ron, were told to Reese by Ron and Kagan. These little things that, like them saying they got dropped off out front. Well, where's out front? He didn't know. But like I've said, with Ron Logan's property being at that end of the bridge, to me, to Ron Logan, that would probably be out front. That would be out there. The closest part of the bridge to him would be the front of the bridge to him. So supposedly it was Keegan who dropped people off and went back to Logan's house and then walked through the woods to meet them. There's pieces and parts of that story that really do make a lot of sense, but then there's gaps and there's things that I go, I don't know.
Michael's here.
Hey, Michael.
So then the question becomes, why is Nick McClellan protecting Ron Logan? Like, with the dates and sentencing and all of that stuff. Like, why is Nick McClellan going out of his way to become prosecutor to protect Ron Logan? That's the question for me.
Okay. Rochelle, what are you talking about in chat? You said that chat guy that said he took the video of the ritual, but not for them, knows who all of them are.
Wait, what? Someone took video? I mean, there was tripod indentations, so who took video?
Where did that come from exactly? Where did the tripod?
I'll tell you. Andy Kopsa did a live a few weeks ago, maybe longer. She was going over the murder sheet shit, and there was a transcript from some hearing where Hennessy was speaking, and he was discussing the leak of some of the crime scene photos and how they had gotten a murder sheet. And he was describing some of the photos, and he said there was pictures of something, there's pictures of something else, and he said, and tripod indentations in that transcript. So for me, that sounded like there's a crime scene photo showing tripod indentations. That's just how I read, though. I'm not sure.
Rochelle, you said you were in a room when a guy said he absolutely has proof? What room? Where were you and who was it? And am I the only one who has read information that Brad Holder at one point in time actually lived with Ron Logan?
I've heard that too, but that's I don't know. I feel like because so when
Judge Jessica said it was at the contempt hearing.
to so when Brad Holder posted on his Facebook that he had to take his son in for questioning, he was coming from Logansport, and Patrick Westfall says that he was living with his parents, and Brad Holder's dad is a pastor and like lives in a house on the church property that he preaches at. If you look, his dad is his name's in the paper a lot in obituaries because he does a lot of funeral service. So that's what the only thing that gives me pause is that all the times all around that Patrick Westfall is listed and coming from Logansport. So I don't know why he would be living with, unless the only thing I can think of is that he was staying there that weekend for the rumor of whatever militia thing was going on. Because if there was a militia party, Brad would be probably like the head of the party. But he was in Logansport, all reported in Logansport at all the times around it by Westfall and his own Facebook post about like where he was coming from to have his son questioned by the police, because he posted about taking his son in to be questioned by the police.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I have that post and the conversation that followed it because
Yeah.
he was saying that his son's girlfriend was one of the girls killed. But there you go, Jerome. Very strange.
Can I just say, when people start looking at this photo, I'm like, oh, she looks so mad. Why are they so upset? Something happened, bro. It's not that deep.
I have teenage daughters that used to use, I didn't let them have phones until they were 16 each. And I mean, they're in college and grown now, but they used to use my phone all the time to take selfies. And do you know how many selfies I had in my phone of them just looking like that? Like, just like taking pictures. Like, there's like 3 of them smiling, but there's like 8 of them just like looking at a camera. You know what I mean? So that's it. Yeah, that's, if you are around teenage girls for any amount of time, you'll know that that's a completely normal selfie.
Well, it doesn't, to me, the window next to Abby does not appear to be down like Kelsey described. I remember the windows were down and they were singing and having a good old time. Yeah, Michael, I do think that you can flip the pictures, but it's a function that you would actually have to hit to make the picture flip, because this picture is flipped unless Libby was driving.
When you take a picture with the back camera, it's automatically flipped. The selfie, like, yeah, or the front camera. I forget which one it is. Back camera, front, back camera flip, front. I don't remember, but it is flipped. But that's the way that your phone takes pictures from a certain angle or camera. I don't know what I'm saying, but you know what I'm saying.
Exactly, Kelt. If there's pictures of the girls happy and singing in the car, why just release this photo if there's others? I don't know if there are others.
I've heard there's one more.
Well, why wouldn't they? I mean,
I don't know. I just heard there's one more.
Indy Cindy says there are no songs downloaded on Abby's phone, according to exhibit pic of phone. What I believe is Abby's and not Libby's. What kind of phone was that? Because I mean, I know that. Yes, Michael, it appears to be. Old Yeller says Kelsey was annoying them. Yeah, I think that I think her hair is up in that like messy bun, like it is in the car.
That's the thing that I noticed the most about the crime scene photo is for someone who's been dressed and undressed with a hoodie, Abby's hair looks pretty intact as far as her messy bun goes. So someone had to have redone that messy bun. I wear hoodies all the time, and I take them on and off all day long. And my hair is constantly in a messy bun. I don't think I wear it any other way, but it's messed up every time. And Abby's does not appear to be. It looks to be pretty intact for someone who put a hoodie over her head. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do have, hold on, let me pull it up. I've got that photo as well. Hold on, let me get to it. The backpack that appears to be on Abby's shoulder. Kim Riley definitely made a post with the Courier newspaper saying that they were looking for any information if anyone's seen anyone throwing or discarding a backpack away. And really quick too, while I have this pulled up, these two right here. Right in Sandiford was supposedly at Tara German's house on February 13th. But and Brett Sandiford, which is his dad, owned this silver coupe that he put up for sale shortly after the murders. Could this be the vehicle that Betsy Blair may have saw? But he put this up for sale not long after the murders. And Bryden put up for sale a gray pocket knife on Let Go and also a gray Nike backpack. I know that Betsy Blair described it as she said it reminded her of her dad's Comet because it had the sharp angles and that it was light colored. I don't think that she said like white. She said it was light colored. So the backpack strap, and I think I said this on Thursday. You know, this was a Monday. They didn't have school, and she had spent the night at Libby's. So this would have been a school night going into Tuesday morning. So if the girls are going to the bridge and they're getting dropped off by Kelsey and they're getting picked up by Derek, was the plan for Abby when Derek picked them up, was the plan for Derek to just drop Abby off at home because she lived right by the bridge? And she would have taken her overnight bag into the car with Kelsey, taken it with her to the trails, thinking that she was going to be going home after they went out to the trails. And with Abby crossing the bridge for the first time, was Libby carrying her backpack? But you can see right here, it says we want to look at any suspect or any aspect of what somebody might have seen, Riley said, adding that if someone saw a person throwing away a backpack, they'd be interested in tracking that down too. That would include something out of the ordinary in nearby communities such as Logansport or Kokomo, he said. Interesting that he named those two areas, Logansport, where Holder's from, and Kokomo, where the whole Kokomo crew people are from, that were supposedly over at Tyler French's stepdad's house on the 12th and early morning hours of the 13th. I'll send it to you, Michael.
He hightailed it out of that house right after all this too. And he's in Terre Haute, the same place as blah, 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 blah. What's his name? God damn it. He was the roommate of Talisa Beckley. Struthers, what is it? They call him Tater or something. Teeter? Fuck, I don't remember.
What about Terry Smothers?
Yes, he's from Terre Haute, same place as Terry Smothers. They have addresses close to each other.
Well, have you? Hey guys, put a 1 in the chat if you've listened to Joe Lewis's latest live.
You sent it to me, but I haven't listened to it yet.
That's a good question. Hot Pocket. That's, but that does clearly look like some sort of a strap. And it does literally make normal, reasonable sense that she would have had a backpack if she had spent the night. So Joe Lewis claims that he has spoken to a whistleblower, and the whistleblower was formerly involved with law enforcement and has pertinent information about this case, and Ron Logan and the Holder group, Elvis Fields, all of them were involved.
Who's Joe Lewis?
There was
Crime
a green
Night.
bandana found at the scene. That's their colors, the Midlanders.
He's Crime Night on. He used to have a YouTube channel.
Oh, I know him. Yeah. Wow.
And he's on Rumble now.
He seemed cool. He's cool, right? Believable, yes. I can't tell anymore in this community. You never know.
Yeah.
I like him, but there's some things that he says that I've just been like, that wasn't necessary. He's a bit outlandish at times. I try not to get involved. I'll listen to him, but I don't like to get in his chat. But he's not even on YouTube anymore, right? He's on Rumble. I've never ever in my life listened to Rumble. You sent it to me and my phone was like, what is this?
Here, I'll put my email in the chat for you, Rochelle. You can email it to me right now. Is it something that I can pull up right now?
I have to stop and get gas. And do you want to know what gas station I'm going to go to since this is a true crime podcast?
No, I don't want to know.
Marathon.
No, it's the same gas station on the Manson murders. On the second night of the murder, after the LaBianca murder, they stole Rosemary LaBianca's wallet and stuck it in the tank of a toilet at a gas station, and that's where I have to stop and get gas.
That's fucking cool.
And the Denny's right next to it is where they met back up with Charlie and had milkshakes at the Denny's. It's still there.
Rochelle, is this something that what you sent me, is it something that I can pull up on here? Hold on, I'm looking to see what she sent me. Oh, that was a good question. Someone just emailed me. About someone emailed me a question about Kathy Shank and her being connected to CSAM, the child stuff. That's a really good question, and we've talked about that because
Is she the social worker that told Keegan to wipe his phone in that
Yes.
one interview that you had?
yes,
Is that her?
yes. Why was Kathy Shank called in? She used to work for CPS. Why was she called in after she had retired to speak with Keegan? She's the nice CPS lady that told Keegan that he needed to get all of that stuff off of his phone. Keegan is not a child. He wasn't a child when he was arrested. So why was Kathy Shank put in the room with Keegan to have this conversation?
Are we
Yeah.
talking the same Kathy Shank that loves to S Ron's D?
Yeah.
Just wondering.
Wait, what did you just say?
So when you listen to Keegan's or not listen to, but you read the transcripts, okay? And he's talking about he was interviewed. So this was back when he was originally arrested or taken in for questioning. And remember, they collected all of his phones from his house, except for the one that miraculously they forgot. I think that he claimed it was on top of a microwave. I think he put it in the microwave to hide it because that was the phone that he had been using the most. And he claims that the nice CPS lady that he talked to when he was taken down for questioning, they wanted to know why he went home and wiped that phone clean and then waited like 2 days before he called law enforcement to say, hey, you forgot one, come and get it. From what I understand, that CPS woman was Kathy Shank, who was brought in to speak to Keegan because she worked for CPS. However, Keegan wasn't a victim and Keegan wasn't a child. I think I do not believe for 1 minute that Kathy Shank sat next to a drawer that had the killer tip in it for 5 years and never knew it was there. No, Trial Junkie, I believe I think it wasn't Tony Klein that had the PT Cruiser. It was his mother.
And wasn't it that address where the phone was pinging from while the murders were happening? Like
No, no,
Keegan.
Keegan's phone was actually at Travis Trexler's house, his cousin, which is down the street from his grandparents. It's around the corner, it's on Paul Pike, I believe. So Keegan told Reese that he left his personal phone back wherever he had came from. He didn't take his personal phone into Delphi, but he did search the Marathon gas station in Delphi. Yeah, and isn't it funny too that like right in the middle of all of this, out of nowhere, Travis Trexler was arrested for something? I thought Travis Trexler was Keegan's cousin, and it's who they call, I think, friend one. Well, the phone was connected to Travis Trexler's Wi-Fi, and according to the transcripts of his interrogation, it was searching porn. But thank you, Andrew Bell, for stopping in. I hope you enjoyed it. She was an unpaid volunteer. Remember, she came back from Florida just to volunteer to help with this case. Just like Dan Doolin came right off of vacation and came back to help with tips and interviews. And, he interviewed the guy who said he was on the bridge, supposedly dressed like the guy that was in the BG photo during the same time. And he couldn't even write down the correct information, and went back to the station and shredded his handwritten report, and then never thought about him again for 7 years.
Checks out.
Yes, she did. Kathy Shank that's what I'm saying. She retired for a few years and she came back and volunteered. Well, see, that was one thing that we were talking about because, thank you, Rochelle. I'm going to check it here in a second. That was one of the things that we were talking about, because Indiana, so if you're a child in the CPS, or like if you are in foster care, in Indiana, and you are abused or mistreated, there's no way that once that child turns the age of 18, that there's no way for them to come back and sue the state for the mistreatment.
I think that Indiana is one of the few states where they can do that still, because they have a lawsuit right now pending.
So you say that they can do that now?
I think that Indiana is one of the few states where they haven't changed that. I know California did, but I think Indiana is one of the few, because they have a lawsuit right now from foster kids about abuse that they had in foster care.
Well, that's kind of a, that's kind of a unique situation, because Indiana does have some serious issues with child trafficking and sex trafficking in general.
Yeah, they have some serious issues with their CPS and CASA system altogether.
Yeah, Forpit said Kathy tried to take him and his twin brother in 1979. Okay, so
You guys want to see the Denny's? That's the Denny's right there. This is the gas station. That's the door to the bathroom. Sorry. It's true crime.
So, Rochelle, I just read your message. Do you know who that is? Who that link, that screenshot thing that you just sent me? I'm a legend, Thanos. What's how Ron Logan met Brad Holder and Nick McClelland? Okay, you don't know him? Okay. Okay, let's get back to the video over here. Now, this video, I believe, is of this is Julie Melvin's video of her crossing the bridge, I believe. And I didn't want to play that one first. Hold on. It was this one that I wanted to go back to. Oh, there's a blue tarp. Now, I want to see if we can see the private drive from up here that goes under the bridge, because you can see that, if you go down that hill, there's nowhere to go to hide if this white van is coming down the private drive and going under the bridge. Because when you're going down that hill, I believe you have to go down a second hill to get onto the private drive. See, that's not a very wooded area down there at all. Yes, Candy, exactly. Suspects with a vasectomy would be very important. Exactly. Yeah, Brad Weber has a picnic table sitting down there next to the water's edge.
Is that the one? Didn't we see a picnic table that day when they were?
Uh-huh.
That's what I thought.
No, KK's phone did not ping at his grandma's house. That's where he told police he was with his dad all day, was at his grandparents' house. And they called him out in his interrogation and said, "No, you were not. Your phone pinged over here." Yes, it was at Travis Trexler's house. So this is This gives you a really good view of the south end of the bridge and down the hill as well.
How long does it take to walk from CPS to where they went down the hill?
I would to walk from the CPS building from that building, I would say I would guess 30, 40 minutes. I mean,
Holy.
at least 30 minutes. 300 is a long road. So this right here is where the girls were standing when they were told to go down the hill. Now look down the hill. I mean, where would they be down here that Brad Weber wouldn't have seen them?
Right.
And
And
actually, I was wrong. The private drive is down the hill. It's not down a second hill. And, you know, Libby's phone moved initially after this video was taken. Initially, it moved 60 meters, which is 196 feet. I think it's more than 196 feet from right where this guy is standing in this video to the water's edge.
someone mentioned in the chat the other day that the incline could be them like going down the hill and then jotting right back up. Is that correct?
I mean, there was a 7-minute still period after the video was taken. I should have pulled it up. I didn't, again, forgot to pull up the phone data, but there was a 7-minute span of time where there was no movement. And then they moved I think it was another 60 meters over into like where the crime scene is located, or in that vicinity. Now, Sarah Eldridge, when she was on Bob Mata's show, she's the phone data expert that the defense called. She claimed that the iPhone 6, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that she said that an incline on that health data app is only upward movement. But see, my issue right here is that Abby didn't live very far from here, and Libby had crossed the bridge before. And when we keep watching this video, if they were scared of Bridge Guy coming behind them, when Abby ran off the bridge, why didn't they run? Why didn't they just run straight down the path, straight over to Brad Weber's house?
The only thing I could think of is that they knew who it was.
So, okay, Michael, you might have to come up here and explain that.
It is always a good day when you get to be on panel with Michael Osbrook.
I'll shit bricks. Do it, Michael.
Yeah, I'm dropping it in the chat for you, Michael. I want you to come up and explain that, because that's been a huge issue about that incline on that phone. But see, if you're going back to this video, the girls could have walked straight. Libby knew who Kay Weber was, and when you know there's a property back here, why wouldn't the girls have just taken off running?
And why didn't Brad Weber see them when he supposedly drove in and scared them off? Brad Weber supposedly knew everything that was going on in that property, and he didn't see a brightly colored tie-dye shirt. Like, I've never been there, but I've heard Four Pits talk about it and a couple of other locals talk about it. But apparently Brad Weber, from like some point of his house, can see directly into the crime scene.
Hey,
I
Michael.
think it was like a deck or something.
Hey there.
Well,
Brad Weber was coming home from work. He'd left for work really early in the morning, and he goes in. I don't know what he does. I mean, throws his stuff down, looks at his phone. I don't know that he was looking at any stuff. Wanders into the house to, uh, tired. I don't know what he could see from where, but I mean, I would think it would be really risky for anybody to be doing stuff out there if you didn't know Brad Weber wasn't there.
True.
So can you explain, you said that there's a different database in the phone that keeps track of downward movement?
That's what I was told by people who should know, and that it would have taken a phone expert 20 hours to figure that out, but there is a database in there that has that. Look, if you have Apple Health only does upward. Apparently there's another database that does downward. Look, if you have an accelerometer in the phone, there's no reason it couldn't do both. I don't know exactly how it's done. I'm not a phone expert. I can only, I hate doing the standard Delphi, I was told thing, but that's what I was told.
So on Libby's, so on the phone data, when you, so you personally haven't been able to see that file as far as, so I mean that would show that they went down the hill, but I believe the incline was later in the phone data, like right before they were in the crime scene area, before the phone supposedly stopped moving.
Look,
Is that correct?
I don't know. Repeat yourself.
I said, so you personally haven't seen the phone data file that has the downward motion.
I wouldn't know which it was.
Okay. You just know that you were told that there's actually a separate file that holds that information.
There is a database that should have that information, but that, a particular phone expert said that it would take 20 hours to tease that out. That's all I know. I'm literally repeating what I've been told. I'm sure that your chat and a bunch of other people can go out there hunting on the internet. I've been, to my way of thinking, getting that information is absolutely essential, because I don't trust the steps for a bunch of reasons. And if you set aside the step, as crazy and as interesting as a lot of what I have hypothesis done, one thing that was done was about going down the east path off of the north side of the bridge. And the really interesting thing about the upward data to me is that the upward data, so there's a ravine between the bridge and Ron Logan's place.
Mm-hmm.
And the 20 feet of upward movement, leave aside time, right? Leave aside times and the step stuff. Just 20 feet up would match going up the east side of that ravine. If you got depending on where the downward movement was and how much it was, maybe that matches going down the west side of that ravine. I don't know. There's a reason they call it investigation.
I have a question. So one of the things that I was wondering, there's a picture of Tony Liggett standing over a part of an embankment on the other side of the river or creek, and Would that, so if you were going up an embankment like that, but you had to like, you were like running fast and you were taking a bunch of extra steps because you were like trying to gain traction to go up an embankment, would that read as you going higher than you were because you were taking so many extra steps and like panicked and like grabbing and clawing and all that extra movement going up? Would that create a pattern where it would look like you were going up 20 feet, but you were only actually going
Look,
up like maybe?
I don't even know how it measures going up. I mean, I just don't. I'm assuming there's something about the accelerometer that can distinguish between horizontal movement and vertical movement, and that at least the upward vertical movement gets translated into the Apple Health app and data. How the Apple Health data is reported in the software that reads the extractions is really pretty weird. I won't go into it, but I'm not saying it's crazy. It's just weird. I mean, I really can't speak to the technical details of the Apple Health data. I have looked at one really good study. I think I actually put it up on Twitter at one point. And basically the outcome was steps are pretty accurate, distance not so much. And I forget what it said about the vertical movement. I think the vertical movement was actually pretty accurate too, but again, maybe I'm misremembering.
So when you say that you don't trust the steps, do you think that do you think they over, well, Catastrophe asked what you, if you watched Michelle After Dark's experiments with the same phone, and what do you think, what do you think could be off about the steps? Do you think they're overly counted or underly counted, or do you just don't trust them in general?
Well, let me put it this way. If you trust the on-off information, the power off, power on information, I mean, Cecil says that phone was not turned off. There's nothing, nothing showing that that phone was turned off since it was reset on the 4th of February. If you trust that, then I don't think you can trust the steps. But if you don't trust that, then the steps may be accurate and the phone was turned off at 2:32. Well, not 2:32, but yeah, I don't know what time it would have been turned off. That's hard to say, because there was all this activity on the phone right up to 5:45. Then there was more. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing, the whole phone. Look, I would like to go to several long lunches with Stacey Eldridge at this point, is all I can say.
Well,
and I'll pay for lunch.
well, hey, maybe she'll be, maybe we can get her to do that. But I do remember, I think I've got it downloaded here somewhere. I think it was Tobe Lesenby who that night said the phone was off.
They said that first, and then, the trial testimony was, and it's not discovery, so I can actually talk about it. Cecil was deposed, and he had a report that was attached to as an exhibit to the deposition. So I can certainly talk about that. And he said that there's no information that the thing was powered off between the 4th and the end of when the phone was found, when Bunner turned it on the 15th. That's actually not true. And I'm not going to go into the reasons that that's not true, but there are basically, three things cannot all be true.
Mm-hmm.
That phone was at 4% at I think it's 2:41 in the afternoon. That phone was not turned off at some point or recharged, and there was all this phone activity.
Yeah, I mean, that is probably the strongest point made about this phone. If it was at 4% and it's getting texted, it's getting Facebook messaged. I'm sure people were Snapchatting her. And if the phone was on, but it wasn't connected to the tower, the phone would have been continuously searching for a connection, which would have literally drained that battery.
Yeah, and I understand. Look, I understand. Stacey Eldridge went on Bob's show and he asked about the 4%, and she said, "Yeah, no problem. Easily could have lasted." And she's an expert, and I don't really want to get into a pissing contest with an expert because I'm going to lose. But I can just, there's an instruction given in just about every criminal case, and maybe even most criminal cases, telling juries to use their common sense. Now, I understand there's a lot in this world that happens that's not common sense. In fact, if we didn't sort of have physics and astronomy in our heads, common sense would tell you the sun goes around the earth. And I absolutely defer to Stacey Eldridge's judgment about these things, but I got to tell you, my common sense tells me there is no way that phone, even in airplane mode, which it wasn't because we know all this stuff was coming in, there is no way without being turned off or recharged, that phone at 4% made it from 2 something or 3 something, depending on which report you want, which software report. So you have to realize that there are 3 or 4. So there are 2 extractions. One was logical, and that's what Bunner did. Cecil later did physical extraction, which takes everything out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you which version of which software is working on which extraction, but I can tell you that there is a 1 hour plus discrepancy in when between two reports on the data on when the phone was at 4%. Look, there is a lot. I have a list of questions as long as several arms about this phone data. All of which maybe could be answered, blown off by somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. All I can do is read, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you know, so have you looked up or been able to find have you even asked the question like on, Google? So if the phone died, okay, that wouldn't have been a turn off, but what would that have registered in the data that it just died?
So the place that you would find information about that would be a boot event, because of course every time it's turned off and then turned on again, there is a database that shows when the phone boots. And Cecil says the only boot event, and I've actually seen the little thing on his report that was attached to his deposition, so I'm not talking out of school here. You know, he shows the boot event on the 4th of February when the phone was factory reset. And you know, I can't go into the databases myself and see if there's another boot event. He says there isn't. Stacy Eldred says that, you know, all the power log events, it only keeps so many, or it only keeps the last one. So after Bunner had to sort of restart it 5 times, all the power log information for the 13th is gone. The power log information for the 13th is gone, but might be some other contradictory evidence earlier. So as I said, I got questions as long as several arms about this phone data.
Okay, well, I'm waiting to hear back from Travis too, because I've got more people coming for you that he knows.
Hey, Michael, that dark car you saw, was there anything distinguishable about it, or was it like as blobby as the Hoosier car?
Oh, the Hoosier, the Hoosier Harvest Store footage is much clearer than
Damn it!
Oh, good, huh?
Well, that sucks.
I mean, look at the picture of, so in the exhibit to the motion to correct error, you know, look at the picture of the van. You know, whether it's Brad Weber's or not, I'm pretty sure it is, but you know, look at the picture of the van in that footage and sort of how pixelated it is. I mean, yeah, you can see it's a van, and you can see that this car is a dark sedan, but that's really about all you see.
Was the car that you've seen on the Sandifords, the black sedan, was it a small car, or was it like a mid-sized car, and like a newer or older model? Can you tell?
Seems pretty small. You know, one thing I could do, somebody had a really brilliant idea, and it kind of shows, again, I want to get it to a photogrammetry expert, but somebody had the brilliant idea of overlaying a frame that has Sarah Carbaugh's car in it, the Saturn Ion, with a frame that has whatever that dark car is claimed to be Rick. And by making sure that the timestamp size on each of them is the same, that should make the relative size of the cars accurate. And it sure does look like the dark car claimed to be Rick's is larger than the Saturn Ion.
They're asking in the chat, do you know if they actually obtained the actual footage from the Hoosier Harvest Store camera, or did they only just sit there and take screenshots and they don't have the video?
Well, by they, I think you mean, I don't know whether they mean law enforcement or the defense. I think law enforcement has the actual footage. I don't know what the defense has.
Okay.
But what I wanted to say was, one thing I could do, taking this really sort of brilliant idea this person did of the overlay of the two stills with the Ion and dark car, whatever it is I could try to take Weber's van take a frame with it and overlay a frame with the car, probably going in drive before it turns around, and try and get a relative size on those.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to get much more than that. I mean, it really is just, you can tell it's a dark sedan. It's not an SUV. It's not a Jeep. It's pretty much, whether it's a small car or a large car, I can't tell you.
So Kat says, yeah, the state introduced it. The state introduced the video at trial, but they only showed the photocopies.
Can you tell whether or not it's
Well, I'm not sure. Look, I don't. People know more than I do, but I'm really not sure that's correct. I think they only introduced the stills.
Well, I have a picture of the front of Elvis Field's house with a black car sitting in the driveway.
Oh,
But this was from
Yeah,
before, this was from before the murder, so I don't know. Well before the murders, but if we could,
yeah. If Elvis was there, I think he was there a different way. All I can say about that.
okay.
yeah.
I'm not saying. Look. It's investigation, as I said. You never know.
Yeah.
But in the last couple of days, a few things have like independently shown up and come together that are really interesting.
Yay.
Okay. So Indy Cindy said that that Rick's car would have had OnStar.
Don't you have to pay for that? I mean, it's an offer, but it wouldn't necessarily have had OnStar.
No, but
and they only
okay. But
and they only got to Rick. Hang on, they only got to Rick's car 5.5 years later. I mean, is it going to still have the data from 5.5 years ago? I don't know. Maybe.
well, I would think, and I know, and I only, and this was back years before this, but vehicles that have GPS, if the car is financed and you default on your payments, the bank can contact the maker of the vehicle, whether you're paying for the OnStar service or not. If your car has GPS, which OnStar would, they would be able to locate the vehicle to repossess the vehicle at any time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether he had OnStar. I have no idea. First I've heard of it.
The government probably has a satellite that was over the area the entire time and has the whole thing on video, but they can't show it to us because then it'd be divulging secrets. I'm just saying, probably. Michael, you should see if you could subpoena some like CIA satellite stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because I don't know. I don't know who of you remembers that after September 11th, the NSA started, with the help of AT&T, started sucking in all phone calls were being made through, and they were doing it. They were doing it through stuff that was coming in over cables in San Francisco and someplace else. And once that cat got out of the bag, defense lawyers all over the country were sending the NSA subpoenas.
I've seen 3 different CIA episodes by satellite crime. I bet you there's a spy satellite somewhere in the ether that has that on camera. You gotta subpoena the CIA and get it for us. Come on, Michael. If anybody can do it, it's you.
Yeah, well, I think.
Well, the issue with subpoena, you gotta have a case.
I'm just joking.
The issue with subpoena, you gotta have a case.
Yeah, he's got to be on the case in order to issue a subpoena. And
Well, no, you have to have a case. I mean, leave
Oh.
aside being in a case, you have to have a case, and there is no case.
Rick's car was a 2016, but I'm pretty sure if it had GPS in it, I'm sure those records could be subpoenaed.
Well, not, since we're talking about technical stuff like this, let me go back to the phone stuff for a minute. The iPhone 6S was being advertised by Apple when it was released, obviously with a brand new battery of lasting, the battery was advertised, the battery lasts 8 to 10 hours. So that's on a full brand new battery. I don't know how old the battery in this iPhone 6S was, but 8 to 10 hours doesn't get you from 2 in the afternoon at 4% to 4:34 in the morning.
What if you take the battery out?
Yeah, well, if you take the battery out, that's equivalent of an phone off event, right? I mean, the phone dies and it has to be. I mean, it may not register in the database as a power off event, but there's going to have to be a boot event. And if you believe Cecil's report, the only boot event, there's a boot event on the 4th when with a factory reset, and the next boot event is on the 15th when Bunner fires the thing up.
That's interesting.
Well, I mean, again, it's another reason. I hate to use the same line over and over, but I only play a phone expert in the movies, and nobody's nominating me for an Oscar.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So,
I mean, there is stuff in the phone. There is stuff in the phone, I have to say, and I might be able to talk more about it once I get an expert to verify it. But there is stuff in the phone that just blows up the state's entire case if it is what it says it is.
hey, Luke, what's up with your Twitter? What happened? You can't tell us anything about that, Michael?
No,
You are the only person, like, you're the reason I joined Twitter, Luke. Come on.
Just that it's really interesting and potentially really, really, really important.
I cannot wait. Oh, Teresa says that she's had her car disabled for being overdue on a payment.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, Jesus.
Let me tell you,
Wow.
none of my cars did that because.
Well, and
I don't know. I've had a
do.
few cars but it said, here, it's yours.
Is
Right.
Luke,
Yeah, this thing is beeping. You want it?
So, Shaboogies, do you know what's up with Luke? Free Luke, what's going on? I know, did he delete his Twitter?
Oh no, just been so toxic and chaotic and all that he deactivated for a moment.
I don't blame him. It is ridiculous. Four Pit says, bias likely the repo man too. Yeah, he probably is. Hey, quit it. Yeah, no, people can't hide their cars anymore. And when I worked for the police department, that was a thing. Because there's usually if somebody shows up to repossess your car, there's usually a confrontation. So sometimes they would call us and they would want an escort for an officer to meet the repo man out at the site to collect a vehicle. And sometimes it was through GPS where they located the vehicle. Sorry, my dog wanted out of the room and my cat wanted in the room, so I had to do a switcheroo.
My sister bought a car from a place called Ugly Duckling, and it had some sort of device in it where when she didn't make a payment, like it turned itself off and they would come get it. She was constantly getting that car out. But it was one of those like I don't know. Hopefully, it's not very politically correct, but in California, I'm not even saying what we call them in California, but like buy here, pay here, some like 29% interest rate. Yeah, they can turn off the car and they can come get it.
Truth Never Changes says that it's next to impossible to take out the iPhone battery. You need special tools.
Yeah, it's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard. I've looked at a video or two of doing it. I mean, it's a small screwdriver and it comes out. You can get it out in a couple. It's not really complicated, but it's not something you're going to pop out in the woods.
Exactly, in the middle of abducting two girls. I just wonder, I just wonder if the girl, so I was thinking the other day just about the whole, because I don't know what the phone data says, if the phone was actually moving after 2:32. But so if we believe that Libby was being groomed and there were inappropriate pictures sent to the Anthony Shots account.
Can I stop you? Can I stop you just a second? Keep that thought.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to what you said about the phone stopped moving at 2:32. Stacey Eldridge showed up on Rick Snay's live, and she didn't say it, but she pretty much implied that there was more movement on that phone.
I remember her saying that. So
that's not me. That's not me talking. That's her. Now, anyway, go back to what you were saying.
I was thinking, if Libby was being groomed by the Anthony Shots account and had sent inappropriate pictures, as the story goes from Reese, that there were pictures sent, and Keegan said that he couldn't do anything with them because he was making fun of Libby's size. But if Libby and Abby thought they were,
he's one to talk.
Exactly. But if they were going out there to meet Anthony Shots and there was a younger individual in the midst of these other people who could have been out there as well, would they have willingly gone with them somewhere? Going down the hill, hey, my car's over here, or, my buddy lives over here. Is it possible? Because like I was talking on Thursday, you've got that 7 minutes after they go down the hill of non-movement. And we know that Libby was not wearing her clothes when she was killed, because those clothes were on Abby and Libby's blood is not on the sweatshirt. So when was Libby stripped down? And if you believe the state story and the phone stopped moving at 2:32 because the girls were already dead, that would imply that Libby was stripped down on the private drive side of the bridge and had to have crossed the creek nude.
Oh, the whole case makes it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. It never did. It never will. It's why are you right? You're taking pictures. You've got a ladder. You all were talking about tripod.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about law enforcement. You're taking pictures from a ladder down on the girls because the sticks were just thrown there to cover them? Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, that's
You're
bullshit. They
taking
know it.
pictures.
So are you,
Well, yeah, yeah.
do you have an opinion? Do you have an opinion about the trip to Vegas? You know, if we're to believe that there was a tripod out there, and for 7 years, law enforcement and even Robert Ives alluded to the fact that the crime scene was something that you'd want to take a picture of, with it being what Keegan was into, Keegan and his dad, or Keegan and whoever. Um, you know, when I talked to Sergio the other day, you know, just based on his experience, he says he thought that the injuries that Abby or that Libby sustained would be for dramatic purposes, for a video or for photographing.
It
And
could be. There are people who are like Perlmutter who are experts in this. I don't know. I mean, of course, it could be for that. I will say this. It's pretty clear that the bodies had to have been dumped by daylight or very close to it. I mean, you don't want to be dumping bodies in daylight with people out looking around.
well, and
And
that's what Reese said. And when and he even stated that, let me pull this up, that they originally planned, Ron wanted the bodies off of his property. But when he came back from Lafayette, there was too many police out, and they had certain roads blocked off because they were searching, and that they moved the bodies. He said Libby was moved 3 times, but they took the bodies out there right before daybreak, and Ron wanted them moved literally to the edge of his property, which, when you look at where the bodies were found and you look at the property line, it is right on the edge of his property. And I think the only person who would have known that would have been Ron. I mean, how would Reese have known where Ron's property ended?
he wouldn't. There's a lot that Reese wouldn't have known. And Reese is somebody that needs to be talked to, and again and again, and certain things need to be straightened out one way or the other. But the only point I was trying to make was that, photographing all that in the dark. I mean, if you're doing it with you're in the dark moving bodies, and you're going to use flash to take the pictures of the people around. I mean, like, here I am, here we are with the bodies taking photographs. I'm a little
Right.
skeptical that photographs were being taken, but I'm not saying it's impossible.
Well, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be, I wouldn't be so skeptic if the girls weren't killed there.
Well, but then you have the whole tripod. I mean, signs of a tripod there. I mean, somebody's taking photos. Isn't the point of that somebody's taking photographs of the air?
You're right. You have a good point. And I pulled up the map. So based on, I have the image. I think it's in another presentation that I did. But when you look at the cemetery on the map here, this field right here, this cut down field next to between the cemetery and Ron Logan's property, this line, the edge of the cemetery straight down to Deer Creek, that is Ron's property line. Everything on the other side of that cemetery belongs to Meers. So when you look at where Abby and Libby were found, they were moved literally to the very edge of his property line.
Yeah,
Which is just,
I mean, and my question is, why wouldn't you go dump them deep in the field on the Meers property? I mean, look, there's a lot of weirdness here.
oh yeah.
But to me, I missed the early part of the thing when you were talking about, BG's so-called escape. BG, if he was involved, and I'm pretty sure he was, but maybe not. BG never left.
I don't think so either. I don't, and I don't think that whoever did this exited that direction. They went out the back way. They went through the cemetery, or they went through Ron's property, or they left throughout somewhere along the private drive.
My question is, and for people who know so much more about this case than I do, is there anything about any witness that would preclude the girls with BG from going back across the bridge to the north end?
Say that again.
Was there somebody?
Hi, Dr. Silkman.
What is there anything from where we know people were that would preclude BG and the girls from instead of going down the hill? Hannah Shakespeare from the beginning. I mean, in 2019, she shot her movie. She said, "I don't think they ever went across the creek. I don't think they went across the creek either. And if they didn't go across the creek and they weren't driven out, they had to go back across the damn bridge."
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm wondering is there anything, about what we know about where people were? So it would be it would be somewhere between 2:14 when the video ends and 2:32 when the movement stops. I mean, completely stops. I mean, yes, there's the 7 minutes of no movement there, but is there anything that would preclude that some witness would have absolutely seen them if they had gone back across the bridge?
All I says, "Are you trying to get her started?" I mean,
I'm trying to get everybody started.
yeah, I guess I think it would, for me, what would help determine that would be how wet were the clothes Abby had on? Because I mean, has any of us ever done an experiment where, in the cold winter, you leave, like, say, for example, you lay a pair of jeans out in the yard or in the woods. I mean, the dampness overnight is going to make the clothes damp and wet, but how wet were they? And
well, tell me this. I mean, was there actual testimony that the clothes that were on? I'm not talking about the clothes in the creek. Was there testimony that the clothes that were on Abby were wet?
yes, I believe so. They were damp. Yeah.
The crime scene picture that I saw, the top of her pants, you know how when your pants get wet and they get like almost like a warped look to them, like they get like I can't describe it, but the top of her pants looked like that, like they had been wet, were still wet, but were partially dry because they were a little bit too big for her because they were Libby's jeans.
And my question is, did anybody test the pants or any of the clothes to see if see if it was creek water?
Right. And that's another good question.
They can't even fucking determine lividity, so doubt it.
But I think, and that's another thing, I remember T did a video on Libby's phone data. And I think based on the phone data that we have from trial, the distance, she tried to take the girls back across the bridge. And I think it was way too far. Putting in the time, putting in the meters, then you've got the 7 minute pause, and then to the 2:32 point. I think that going back across the bridge, there's too much. They didn't. It's too far. it exceeds what the phone data shows by, I think, quite a bit. It's not even close.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to wonder about that phone. I mean, what is it? What is it? You know, I did say something that didn't come out of trial, that, you know, maybe talking out of school, but I think it's an important part of the story about the BG video. There is the same kind. So Stacey Eldridge says their headphones in at 5:45 and headphones out, I think 10:32, right? Well,
Yep.
there is an identical entry, and this is in the report generated from the data. It's not the data itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
That there is exactly the same kind of audio, I forget what it's called, but it's basically aux activity, right? 2 seconds after the BG video ends. And hang on. I don't know what that means. Again, this is something I need a phone expert for, because according to Cecil's report attached to his deposition, there are about 5 different codes that can be associated with that audio activity thing. One can be a speaker, one can be headphones. I think 0 is headphones, 1 is maybe speaker. Anyway, there's some others, and there's 8, which is unknown. In other words, you can get an 8 in the database that contains this information, so a code associated with the activity, and basically it's unknown what it is. I don't know what I don't have the expertise to go into the damn database and see what the code associated with, it's headphones, or let's say it is headphones. If it's headphones in 2 seconds after the video ends, which makes no sense, followed by headphones out 5.5 minutes later.
I mean, and that's strange, because you see the girls literally head to go down the hill. But yes, I've always said that, Free Ricky Bay, that could it be a car audio auxiliary? Like they got into the car, and, if you wanted to listen to music through speakers in a car, that's what I'm saying when I'm talking about, did they go willingly? Was this the game plan to go, the path that we go down to get down there, to go wherever they had planned on going? I mean, somebody had, and I mean, I hate to even bring this up, but it is a part of the case with Libby being groomed. This is kind of where I was going before, that were the girls promised money to do in-person photos, or to go somewhere and do something of that nature.
In the Vito interview with Keegan Klein, isn't there some sort of mention of an exchange of money?
Yes,
I forget what it was.
Yes, he had given her money. He had sent Libby money.
And then didn't Reese also say that, like, he was he paying girls for news? I forget the exchange program that he told Reese.
Oh, Carnoodles. Yes, I have those photos. I do have those photos. They're going in the vault presentation. Don't worry. I don't know if he was paying girls for the photos. because remember, Anthony Schatz isn't supposed to really be a collector of anything. He's just supposed to be this hot boy. And I think that he was just chatting with girls and then he was using the Emily Ann account to get the nudes. Enlighten us. Nothing. This is driving me crazy. Nothing makes sense. And okay, what doesn't make sense? Sorry.
Full disclosure, when the Anthony Schatz Keegan Klein thing came out, I was like in the throes of paramedic school, and like I'm not as well versed as I know I tried to catch up afterwards when I came back, but when all that happened, I missed a lot of it.
Teresa F, that's a good question. Does the iPhone 6, I would think that it would have Bluetooth. Or was 2006 or was 2017?
This is 2 seconds. Look, it's not getting in a car. It's not Bluetooth. This is 2 seconds after the video ends.
Right. That's, yeah. I mean, what happened with that phone? And
so did
somebody,
Libby have headphones on her and put them in, maybe?
Like you're looking for a path. I mean, nothing's impossible. Well, there are a few things that are impossible. Bree and Kelsey being on the bridge is impossible. I'm sorry, had to get that one in. But no, I don't see how. Look, I mean, what she'd have to have the headphones in her hand while she's shooting this thing and talking, and it like she presses the stop on the video and puts this. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I've kind of tried to act it out myself, but I can't come up with a good way that it happened.
Well,
I mean,
the thing
otherwise, it looks like someone very knowledgeable with technology would have had to be in there making shit code like that.
Yeah, I don't think. I'm just wondering if Libby did have headphones on her, because someone made a comment in the chat that was the video actually interrupted by a phone call coming in. And, you know, if your phone is on silent or it's on vibrate, when she turned to go down the hill, I'm almost positive that sweatshirt that she was wearing had a big front pocket on it. And if she put, I'll have to look at the crime scene photo. But if there's a front pocket and she put her phone right into that pocket and she had her other hand already in there, to shut the phone off, she could have plugged it in, because 2 seconds, there's not a lot of time for anything else to have occurred.
I can't. I mean, that's maybe possible. I look. It's another reason I'm suspicious of the phone data. Okay, I mean, I just don't think it makes. I mean, we're trying to come up with some explanation. One explanation is there's something the matter with the data, and I'm not saying. I don't know whether it's the software. The software actually kind of makes mistakes, or I just don't know.
Right.
I mean, how do you explain two different, so from two different pieces of software, you get two different times for the 4% power level? I mean, that to me, that makes no sense. I mean, is it reading? Are they reading different databases? Why would there be any discrepancy about that?
I mean, I don't know. And I don't know why it's, in a situation like this, why Apple would not be forced to explain the data for you. because I mean, I understand that it's their brand and they don't want people to know, what their recipe is behind the scenes. But in a situation like this, I would think that they would have some experts that work for the company who would be able to decipher what all of this stuff means. So it's almost like, from one expert to another, they're being forced to kind of guess. And I don't feel like with a company that has this big of a reach in the world, that they can't be held responsible to provide accurate information in a case like this, where that phone holds the answers to an entire case.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, the information is always different. So, all right, well, we've been on here for 3.5 hours, and I need to go eat.
Bye, everyone.
Long enough for me
Michael,
to drive from Orange County to the Antelope Valley. Like that's a long time. I'm on my
yeah,
couch now.
yep. Gilletta says money talks and perps walk. I agree. Bridge of Lies. Well, thank you, Shaboogie, for coming on and sharing that info. I need to figure out where where one of those girls is incarcerated at, if it's a county jail or if it's a prison.
Who?
So Shaboogie came on, she came on earlier, and because she had reached out to one of the 3 girls that were out there on the trails around the time that Rick that went over to the park to play basketball. And one of them is currently incarcerated. The one that she talked to, Shaboogie said she couldn't really remember seeing anybody out there. But she said that she was never contacted. They were never contacted by law enforcement.
Okay. I'm gonna. Everybody's free to tell me to go screw myself. Okay. But I would seriously ask that, if you got the names of witnesses, I don't know, you get them to me, you get them to Kara. Do not try to contact witnesses yourself, please.
I think
And you
she
can
did
tell me
it
to go
a
screw
while
yourself. I'm
ago.
gonna. You can tell me to go screw myself. I'm gonna do it. That's fine. I'm just telling you that's my position.
Okay. Well, I know all eyes has them, and I have them, and I'll send them to you.
We have. I mean, people have been asking where the fundraiser money is. I can tell you where the fundraiser money is. The fundraiser money is with David Hennessy, and it can be used for investigation and experts. And this is if it's about Rick, people should not be reaching out to an investigator needs to go talk to them. Probably, somebody who does this professionally, that doesn't, so that the witnesses don't think they're like getting into some sort of mess, which they may think anyway. I just, if the wrong approach is made to a witness the first time, it may, you may only get one chance to talk to somebody.
You're right. Thank you, DB. Thank you, Jerome.
I have
So
nothing but the utmost respect for you, Michael, and thank you for everything that you've done for this case and the time that you've donated and the hassle that you've been put through is ridiculous to me watching it happen. So thank you for everything. I just wanted to say that. You are amazing as far as I'm concerned.
Well, thank you for the kind words. The hassle's not that much of a hassle because there are people who matter and people who don't.
I second what she said, Michael. I think that you know that. And my biggest fear right now is that Rick is going to be left sitting he's already going to be sitting in there, as an innocent man. One day is too long. And I don't want to see post conviction be delayed one day longer than it has to be. And I'm telling you guys, following these types of cases, if this appeal does not work in his favor and the post conviction has not started, the investigation hasn't started, Rick is going to be sitting until an attorney is assigned. And that could
wouldn't
be.
you know it, there's an attorney right here willing to do it. I mean, imagine that.
I don't understand.
I just want to be clear. I'm willing to get things started. The hunt is on for much bigger dogs who can actually do it. But there are just a few things, maybe a dozen, that I think need to be pursued now. And
I mean,
time.
It does, because this is not a small case by any means, number one. And you're dealing, if a new attorney comes into this, okay, they're coming in brand new to this case. You guys are familiar. You know the players. You know what's transpired over the last several years with this case. That makes a difference. And you care. You truly care. It's not just a job that you are being forced to do. If no one comes forward big wig wise and offers to take this case, you're going to be limited on what you're going to be able to have access to expert wise, because it'll be based on what the state tells you can have.
When you say big wig wise, I'm so sorry. When you say big wig wise, like, what do you mean? I'm sorry. I'm just a dumb paramedic. Like, what is it, like someone like Mark Garagos and Alan Dershowitz, or are they different types of attorneys? Like, what does that look like to you?
I mean, I'm working. I'm working on another case. 25-year-old murder that the guy is absolutely innocent, and big law firms have pretty substantial pro bono operations, and they have resources that they devote to those, and so that kind of thing. But what you have to interest people in that is stuff. And so that's the other thing, getting a post-conviction investigation started. And I'm just talking about started. It will develop stuff that will create more interest by people who can actually handle the whole thing. And hell, it may bust. I mean, as I said, there's some stuff in the phone data. If it means what it says it means, wow. And
you're such a tease. Not even like I said, you're such a tease. Not even like a sliver. Can you give us a sliver, Mr. Osborne, please, pretty please?
No. But look, the only thing I'm not a tease. Look, I'm not saying it's a tease. I'm saying it to encourage people. I'm saying it as encouragement. And in fact, it was this whole contract bullshit started when I simply made a telephone call. One of the people who matter know about some encouraging information. Because I thought that person who matters might be encouraged by the information, and I thought that was important, out of which I was asked to write up the now infamous contract. And So, you know,
And
I just, I just want to,
haven't you written
yeah.
a bunch of stuff for this case and like are very familiar with it? And wouldn't it take like another attorney months, even years, to catch up to where you are now?
No, and I know I said it on Reddit. I think I might have said it on T's Live the other day. I would like if one of these bigger dogs comes along, I will give them everything I have, and I will spend whatever number of hours it takes, number of hours it takes to get the information out of my head into theirs. And that's actually what I did on this 25-year-old case before the big look. This is kind of what I've been doing. I mean, this is not anything new. I mean, without this, big law firm and this other innocence case I'm working on, the 25-year-old murder, I was doing a ton of the investigation, not alone by any means. It's always a friggin' group effort. I mean, people think I'm out here for credit and publicity. I'm out here for publicity only to the extent that it advances interest in Rick's case, because I really don't think that can go away. And credit, I mean, stuff people have done online just with the hive mind working on the exhibits that have come out. There's some pretty incredible work there.
One of the things that I like about you, and that I think people misunderstand, is that you being a professor and being in the university system and being around younger students, you understand the importance of social media and collaborative thinking. And I think some people think that that's nefarious in some way, but that's one of the things that I like the most about your impact on this case, is the fact that you are so collaborative because of your professorship, and everybody has a unique role to play, and I think that that's amazing.
I mean, I'll be honest. I started the Twitter account and the Facebook account for one reason only, and that is my students were doing incredible work, and the law school was giving them no credit for it. So I created my own publicity firm. It was mostly for them. I mean, one second-year law student going up in the Indiana Supreme Court and getting the Indiana Supreme, in an oral argument, getting the Indiana Supreme Court to overturn a 20-year-old precedent. I mean, the guy is amazing. I mean, I've had, I don't know, one student in the Indiana Supreme Court argue, and I think it's 8 or 9 in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. The Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals is the second highest court in the country. And, half of those students won those cases. And I got to say, the losses in those arguments weren't their fault. Look, criminal defense is always a group effort. It is, even, there are some few solo practitioners, maybe some frontline public defenders who don't have, public defender offices in their counties, who are really almost truly at the trial level working on their own. But for the most part, criminal defense is a group effort. There's always more than one person involved. I mean, there's an incredibly wonderful listserv, for the PDs in the state. I mean, there are probably a couple hundred people on it. And I mean, it's just an incredible resource. You put up a question, somebody's already got the motion ready. They send you the motion, and it's the community. I mean, look, the civil rights lawyers who brought Jim Luttrell to ground in that case, where he was found liable for conspiracy for fabricating evidence on summary judgment, which is unheard of. I was talking to them about the case, and Luttrell and the others are appealing, and they don't really have much experience in the Seventh Circuit. So I sent them some briefs I'd written. It's a group effort. I mean, it's just, what can I tell you? It's people working with people. And guess what? People are both the most dangerous and the most productive when they're working together. People in groups are really dangerous.
And there's people with such specific, like, talents that, like, putting the video out there and letting people mess around with it and the sound and see what's going on inside of it. Like, you're going to get some savant engineer who's going to go in there one day and find something that we've never heard before, because as a community he found it, extracted it, and like did what he, there's so many things that could happen with, because there's so many people paying attention and so many eyes on this, that like someone's going to be able to help in some capacity.
Look, when he's not lying, when he's not wasting his breath lying about other people, and he's working on evidence, Prof is pretty interesting. He's got me pretty. I want to get the BG audio from that. I mean, he's got me pretty well convinced that there's a third voice on there. I think that needs to be looked at by. I think that's important enough. It needs to be looked at by an expert.
Yeah.
I don't know about the too many steps. That's an interesting thing. But if people, one of the things I really liked about tonight has been talking about and asking questions about what? The evidence.
Mm-hmm.
The case. I mean, and I'm sorry that I had to mention the.
And that's another thing I just want to point out, is that I find so, like, relevance, that's the word. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, trustworthy about you, but there's another word, is that people will tear you, like, you will go to bat for people even if they're not being kind to you. And that just makes you even more, like, legitimate in my eyes.
Well, thanks.
He said, well, thanks.
Sorry, you're.
I'll take. I can't take the two stakes off my black eyes yet, but
Good people and honest people have a really hard time being anything other than that. Yes, there's the word, integrity. Thank you, Fig.
Doing the right thing even when no one's looking. That's, yeah.
I'm sorry, but I understand it's a different person, but like integrity and Fig in the same sentence don't go together.
Sorry, Fig Ferrari. Sorry,
It's Fig Fairy.
Fig Fairy. Yeah, Fig Fairy.
Not that Fig.
Yeah, not that one. Sorry.
Sorry, Fig Fairy.
She said, "Ha."
She's really
all right,
cool
guys.
too.
Okay, so I want to say, guys, we've dropped Dr. Silkman's Foul Play channel link in the chat, and go over there and follow his work on the Stephen Avery case. I think you guys, if you want to get a deep dive into another crazy, corrupt county, Manitowoc in Wisconsin is a nightmare, just like Carroll County. Mysteries with Mr. Balik, that's Jerome's channel. He's dropped his channel in the chat as well. Go follow him. And, a lot of my good friends, I've met through Foul Play. Cherie, Just Rhonda, Dr. Silkman, Travis, Jerome,
Don't
So
forget to watch Karen Reed's
maybe I
trial
can
with criminality next week. She's
maybe
amazing.
in about 30 seconds for those of the people in your chat who really don't know much about Stephen Avery case, I can just give them a little hook that will send them over there, and that is you have to realize this is a case where they convicted an intellectually disabled kid of the murder of Teresa Hallback on the theory that she had been handcuffed to the bed and her throat had been slit, even though there was no blood. And then they convicted Stephen Avery, his uncle. Is that right, uncle?
yes.
On the theory that he had shot her in the garage.
So two different trials, two different incarcerated guilty verdicts came down on two trials for the same murder that was done completely two separate ways. And they are both still sitting in prison.
I
Brendan
watched
Dassey,
that
And-
Netflix, but I haven't followed up on it. I feel like I should do that now.
well, then you need foul play does like what we're doing, but I mean, Dr. Silkman has a whole website where everything from the case can be found in one location. That case, I was obsessed with that case for about
That's
10
the
years.
problem. My brain cannot handle being obsessed with another case. Like, there's not enough room left after 8 years of this case.
Well,
But
that case,
I will try. For you,
You want
Amy,
some
I
inside
will.
baseball on? You want some inside baseball in that case? And Brendan
Yeah.
Dassey's part of it.
yes,
Of course.
So
AT.
Brendan Dassey came very close to getting a new trial. In fact, the federal district court judge in Wisconsin granted a writ.
They did an en banc. Wasn't that an en banc hearing that they did?
Hang on, let me get there. You're jumping ahead.
Amy.
You're way ahead of everybody. You're way ahead of everybody. And
Sorry.
this also ties back into Delphi. And a divided panel. So there are 3 judge panels to start with in the Seventh Circuit firm. I think she was the chief judge then, Chief Judge Wood. Probably actually one of the smartest judges in the country. Certainly one of the most interesting. Wrote the majority opinion. And Judge Hamilton dissented. And so after you go to the 3-judge panel, if you don't like the result in the 3-judge and you lose, you can ask the whole court to hear it. And the whole court agreed. And I think the whole court agreed. And I think there were 11 judges on the court at the time. I think full strength was 13 at the time, but I think they only had 11. It may have been they only had 9. I forget what the vote line was. Maybe it was 5-4. But Judge Hamilton, having written the dissent for the panel, wrote the majority opinion for the majority opinion for the en banc decision of the court. And there was a 1-vote difference. And he basically was convinced that the only way to read the opinion was it was the confessions that they weren't coerced. He was just sitting there all afternoon, and they were confessions. I mean, basically, it was the guy confessed, he's guilty. Let's get out of here. It wasn't much more than that. But, and okay, I'll do the tie-in back to Delphi now. Anybody who thinks that confessions don't matter, I don't care whether they're, psychotic, whatever, confessions matter. The problem in this case, ever since Rick started confessing, is the confessions. Period. The end. There are all kinds of other little problems and craziness, but getting past the confessions, any appellate court's going to have trouble getting past the confessions. Which is one reason the whole post-conviction investigation, I'm not saying the case, just the investigation needs to start now. But going back to the inside baseball, one of the judges on the Seventh Circuit had to recuse himself. And the reason he had to recuse himself, I think, I don't have the inside information, but it seems pretty obvious, is that his daughter was a very big deal in the Northwestern innocence operation that was representing Brendan Dassey. This judge who had to recuse himself was a very likely vote for Brendan Dassey. And if he hadn't had to recuse himself, it would have been 5-5, or I think it's 5-5. It might have been, might have been 4-4. It would have been evenly divided court, which would have meant the panel opinion affirming the grant of habeas relief would have been left standing. So the only reason Brendan Dassey is in prison now is, I think, at least as I look at it, and is that a judge had to recuse himself.
And was it really the only option? He was doing the right thing by recusing himself? The judge, I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think if your daughter is a big deal in the operation representing the guy in front of you, yeah, I kind of think you got to get out.
Yeah, that does sound right.
Yeah, Brendan's interrogation was really bad. And on top of all of that, he was a minor and he was questioned without a parent.
What are the laws on that, Mr.?
Well, he was questioned without a parent, except his parent said, okay, have at it.
Yeah. They just weren't, they just weren't, they weren't, Brendan was not, I don't know, I wouldn't say he was on the spectrum, but his IQ, he had issues. And okay, yeah, Dr. Silkman says the Delphi case, that's what I'm afraid of. The Delphi murder case will go the same way as the Avery and Dassey cases unless exculpatory evidence is uncovered.
Is there anything that can be done to the people that have just lied and created this mess? Will it ever come out, or is it just so complicated and so convoluted that there's no way you could prove anything and everyone's just going to get away with it?
It's investigation. I think there's all kinds of stuff that's provable.
Can you nail Nick McClelland's balls to the wall, or is he too slippery?
I'm
sorry, Mr.
I've got the nails. I've got the nails. I've got the hammer, and we'll see.
See, and the bigger, I think the overall, this is my impression of it, and it's very valid in the Avery case as well. So, Steve, for those who aren't familiar with the case, Stephen Avery was convicted of a rape that he did not commit, and he was incarcerated for 18 years, and then was exonerated by DNA. So he was on, and there was a lot of nefarious things done, just like in the Delphi case, where they knew Stephen was not the perpetrator of that crime, and they pinned it on him anyway. He had like 16 witnesses from the day that the rape happened, and he wasn't anywhere near it. He had receipts from McDonald's, And the individual who was actually responsible for the crime was under surveillance for pretty much the same issues. He was a sexual predator. And I believe that day they either didn't have enough officers to follow him around to keep him under surveillance or what have you. But he was a blonde and he looked somewhat similar to Stephen Avery, but they knew Stephen wasn't the one. And when Stephen was exonerated and released, he was on the precipice of a massive lawsuit against the state for the way his case had been handled. And I believe personally,
against the county, I think.
Yes, it was against the county. You're right. And what had happened was the insurance company for the department basically came back and said that if they're sued and these individuals did what they're being accused of, the insurance would not cover the department in a lawsuit, that the individuals named would be personally liable. And I think that,
and the reason for that is most insurance policies do not cover intentional conduct.
and that is where the ball started to roll. I mean, because Stephen Avery was weeks away from this lawsuit, and I think that's what started the ball rolling on getting him twice convicted. Yeah, Tom Kasurik was the sheriff.
I'm so sorry. One more squirrel. Do you think, Michael, that they shut down Pendleton because of the threat of the lawsuit? Do you think that they are that panicked by it that that's why they shut down the prison for a week so no one could be served or ask questions? I don't know how that works, but do you think it has something to do with it?
Nah.
No, sorry.
No.
Conspiracies.
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
I promise you, no more squirrels.
Nobody at Pendleton. Well, I mean, to start with, nobody at Pendleton's going to be served.
Yeah, I don't know how. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm just a chick.
No, I mean, it's going to be, anybody that gets sued, it's going to be the DOC, it's going to be the DOC and its employees and Centurion and a couple of John Doe guards probably. And, if the suit happens, I mean, if somebody does it, the word's out there that, top people are on it, and I'll believe it when I see it.
I don't believe that. Sorry, that's just my 2 cents. I don't believe any of that.
And certain people are saying, oh, I think it's worth, maybe $50 million. If the civil rights sharks out there thought it was worth $50 million, I think it's worth a bunch of money, but for some reason, the civil rights sharks out there aren't, there's not a school of them circling. Where are they? If there's a $50 million case there, it wouldn't have to be little old me offering to, just get some damn complaint on file.
Yeah, because that would be a pretty cut for any attorney who took that case on and won a civil judgment.
And as I made clear on C's Live the other night, it's like it's just like, the post-conviction thing. I couldn't possibly handle a civil lawsuit against all these people, the discovery involved. I'm a solo practitioner. I don't have an assistant. I don't have a paralegal. It's me and my machines. And it would, I only offered to file something to get something on file while what? You find somebody who's going to take the case on, who actually does this work. I've actually been trying to find somebody since December.
Yeah, Dr. Silkman made the statement, the state will shut down the entire Delphi case. that's pretty much what happened in Wisconsin with the Avery case. They played ping pong with that case in the courts for years. They drug out every extension they possibly could, just to drag it all out. And now it's at a stalemate pretty much. And, that's what we've
Well,
got to be careful with this case because
I'm here to tell you it's not at a stalemate. So, stuff's moving ahead.
yeah, get the investigation right, T. Get the investigation started so the big dogs can take on the post-conviction relief. All right, guys. Well, we're 4 hours in now, so I'm gonna let everybody get back to their Saturday night, and I need to go eat. My stomach is growling.
My boyfriend made me fish salmon of some sort, but he smoked it. So
Mike made mistakes, so yeah, this was a long one. Thank you everybody for coming out. Lacey, I'm hoping I will get part 4 of the vault out on Monday. I'm still putting together more of the presentation. Because I'm going to be going into the Brad Holder stuff, and I've got some more research. I've got to compile all of that stuff or finish compiling it, and then I also want to include some of the Ossetru and Vinlander information in there, and that's a massive section of POIs in this case that I want to cover thoroughly.
And don't forget Criminality with Karen Reed this week. Her and Sleuthy are really funny. I'll be there. I usually am.
Jessica,
Not only are they funny, they're very tasteful. They don't add sound effects.
And they don't do lip reading very well. Or maybe he was talking about white milk. You never know.
Hey, Amy, thanks for the opportunity again.
oh, you're welcome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Jessica,
you,
Yeah.
that's not necessary, and it's I will block you. You haven't spoken this chat all night, and then right at the very end, you want to come in and drop that. Do you have something of value to contribute, or you just want to make a statement because you know that we all disagree with you? I just don't understand. It's ignorance.
That is what people on these YouTube streets like to call a troll, from what I've heard.
Thank you, everybody. Like before you leave, subscribe, please. It's for free. Thank you so much for everybody who stopped by, for spending your Saturday night with me. So I will see you next time, and probably Monday, the Delphi Vault Part 4 will be coming out. So thanks, you guys. Appreciate all of you. Bye, Michael.
Bye, everybody.